I really like the variety because there's a lot of different parts of our region, and particularly in disaster space, I like that we're there for the community in kind of some of their worst times. We're able to assist. My role basically oversees and works with other emergency service agencies in town to assist the community in preparedness and then response and recovery following disaster events. I really enjoy working and living in Gladstone. We have great facilities here. People are really friendly. Council's a really good organisation to work for. Everyone's really committed to the community. I mean, we're all residents. We want to see what's best for the community happening. I do quite a few sports in town, so use a lot of our sporting facilities, as well as involved in the community theatre space. So getting to use the GECC, which we're really lucky to have. I do the community musicals, so we've done, I've been involved in Anything Goes, Legally Blonde, Carrie, and then also do foster caring through GPAWS, which is one of the animal rescue groups. Emma Catlin, Disaster Response Specialist for Gladstone Regional Council.
which is prior notifications of conflicts of interest. Councillor Patrick.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I, Councillor Leanne Patrick, declared a conflict of interest and removed myself from the decision at a recent councillor information session where an update was provided to councillors on the Boyne-Tanham Aquatic Recreation Centre. I have a declarable conflict of interest as my husband's business. Nathan Patrick is my husband, and the business is Boyne Island McDonald's, is situated within 500 metres, thereabouts, of the proposed project site, and there is a potential that the development could be perceived to have a financial impact on the business. In the interest of transparency and public confidence, I will not participate in any further decisions relating to the Boyne-Tanham Aquatic Recreation Centre, and I will leave the room for future discussions.
Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Any further conflicts of interest, councillors? Councillor Goodluck.
Sorry, Mr Mayor. I don't think I have a conflict, but I just thought I'd check in the councillor vacancy, given that it is my vacancy.
There's no conflict.
That's not a conflict?
Thank you.
Okay.
No, I've already checked. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. No further conflicts of interest. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is...
No, Mayor Matt.
Oh, thank you. Councillor Churchill. You did tell me that too, yes.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have a conflict of interest. I don't believe I do. It's just in relation to agenda item G 4.5, Gladstone Airport Corporation Statement of Corporate Intent. I have sought advice prior to this meeting with our Manager of Governance and Risk, Tanya Wally, and from Tanya's advice and also from King and Co. Legal advice in relation to a councillor's appointment to a corporation or an association. I just wanted noted that I don't have a conflict of interest, but I am council's appointed representative to the board of the Airport Corporation.
Thank you, Councillor Churchill, and that's correct. There's not a conflict of interest.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item is the Mayor's statement on current issues. There's been a fair bit going on, not as much as we usually have in the Gladstone region, but there's been some massive events. Obviously, we've had the Dolphins NRL team back in Gladstone. Obviously, the Dolphins' first time they ever ran out on the field was here at Gladstone at Marley Brown Oval, and this time they came back to play the Capras, and the Capras won. So how fantastic was that to see the CQ...
Not next time.
Not next time. You're going for the Dolphins? Oh, righto. Well, how do I mute him? Righto, you're off. Anyway, it's fantastic to see the Capras win, and Gladstone as well. All the the earlier games throughout the day, the Capras won them, or the Gladstone team won. So it was fantastic for our locals to get up and get some wins on the day. And what a great day it was! Over 3,000 people packed the oval there at Marley Brown, and had a fantastic day. We just recently welcomed our youth council. We had a meet and greet with our youth councillors just recently at the Phillip Street Communities Precinct, and they all got up to introduce themselves. We have a number of returning youth councillors, a number of new youth councillors, and yeah, there's probably the biggest youth council we've ever had, so it's fantastic to see so much interest in our youth council, and I'm looking forward to seeing their feedback and their advice to our council on youth-related issues. A few events coming up. Another massive event in our region is, of course, the Agnes Blues Roots and Rock Festival. That's this weekend, so make sure you don't miss that. If you haven't got your tickets already, you can still get tickets. It's going to be an unreal lineup of entertainment all weekend in Agnes Water. You might be struggling to get accommodation now, but you never know what you'll find. You never know. Also, we have the Baffle Creek Community Forum on the 1st of March, and tickets for the Mayor's Santos GL&G Mayor's Charity Ball go on sale on the 1st of March. Usually sells out within the first hour or so, so if you're keen to get involved this year, make sure you get your tickets and be ready on the 1st of March when tickets go on sale. And our biggest event for the year, Easter in Gladstone. We've launched the Easter in Gladstone campaign, which of course celebrates the Brisbane to Gladstone yacht race, the Gladstone Harbour Festival, Brisbane to Gladstone Village, and everything that is awesome about Easter in Gladstone. So there's plenty happening, and make sure you visit Council's website for more information on what's happening around the region. The next item on the agenda, councillors, is the confirmation of minutes. G2.1, the confirmation of the general meeting minutes for the 4th of February. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Davis. Seconded, Councillor Wagner. All in favour? That motion is carried. We now have a deputation from the Good Sports program, and I'd like to invite Rebecca Smith to the table, who's the Senior Community Development Officer, to her deputation. Thank you, Beck.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity to come and let you know about the Alcohol and Drug Foundation and the work that I'm doing in the Central Queensland area. Being based in Gladstone, I know quite a few of you, but it's good for you to put, I guess, a face to what the ADF does in the region. So we do 2 programs. So I'm a Senior Community Development Officer, and I look after the entire Central Queensland, so from Rockhampton down to Hervey Bay and way, way out west. But obviously I'm based here, so I get to pour my heart into our community. So we have 2 community programs. The first being the Good Sports program. So I predominantly work with sporting organisations. And the second one is we have 10 local drug action teams in the Central Queensland area, and one being based here in Gladstone. So the mission of the ADF, the vision is lives unlimited by alcohol and other drug harm. And our mission is to inspire positive change by delivering evidence-based approaches to minimise alcohol and drug harm. To change attitude, knowledge and practices, and to have those difficult conversations when alcohol is such an embedded part of our community. And I don't normally use a mouse. Here we go. Okay, so just a really quick intro to Good Sports. So it's Australia's largest community health sports program. We have over 12,000 clubs and climbing. So it's been around for 25 years, and it's one of our core programs. The ADF itself has been around for 65 years, and our main base is down in Melbourne, but we have offices in every state. So what the evidence tells us about community sporting clubs is they make, as you would know, a massive contribution to health and wellbeing of our community. But Australia and members of sporting communities drink at higher levels than the general population. So at our top level, we see, I'll show you the next slide. So at our top level, this is the landscape, and it's normalised. So it comes down to community sports and that culture. And what my work does is to have those difficult conversations and educate committees of how they can protect their members by making changes and implementing policies. And obviously, we want to put good news in and showcase not only in Gladstone, but the entire Central Queensland, of all the good stuff these community clubs are doing, because what we see in the media, unfortunately, is all the negative things. So we really want to showcase and bring up what the sporting clubs are doing, all the good things. So of those 12,000 good sports clubs, 80% allow consumption of alcohol. There is, in Gladstone, we have around 108 organisations that are eligible for the Good Sports program. We have 10 gold clubs, and that's the highest standard that can be achieved with their policy implementation. We have 4 then that are accredited, so they're doing the standard, making sure that they're looking after but not going over and above. We have 12 that need policy renewals, so they've been around in the program for a long time and they're due for that. And I have 6 that are registered that I'm working through the program with at the moment. So it's an ongoing cycle, especially with changes of committees and whatnot. And we look after any sort of community sporting clubs. So it could be, I've had a meeting with the Croquet Club, which are a fantastic group of people, And I'm meeting with Wallabies later this afternoon to reintroduce the policies back into their space. I'm also on Saturday heading down to Wide Bay to look after all the QRL from down there, and I was in Rocky recently doing the same. So the good sports problem, community-based sporting clubs can be the environment to expose members to unregulated and problematic alcohol use. It's usually the clubs that think that they're not doing any harm, that they have the slide drinking on the side, that the parents think that it's okay to bring in alcohol. So it's unregulated. So it's just having those conversations to raise that awareness of how can we protect our members and strengthen, those policies and practices. We're very aware that young Australians participating in sport have been found to drink alcohol at higher levels than non-sporting peers, unfortunately. And we have, especially in those rural regional areas, our senior teams have juniors playing up in them. So what are we exposing our juniors to when we're bringing them into senior sports? What good role modelling do we have? And then you add alcohol, what does that role modelling then look like? So it's just having those conversations to raise awareness. So a guide and develop clubs policies, build knowledge on the risks of AOD, reduce that risky alcohol consumption, increase awareness of other things, so the mental health side of things, increase volunteers, and then grant opportunities. There's a whole lot that goes hand in hand, and just really raising that safe and inclusive environment. So there's just the stages of behaviour change. So I run workshops so that we go through and raise awareness so that the clubs and the members can think about what things are happening in their organisation, and then prepare them to take the action. And then after they've made all these great changes, if they need to, just making sure that as there's a change of members or a change of committee, that we continue on the good work that's happening, and we don't fall back into practices that aren't helpful. So this is just a slide that I use to talk to clubs, because we have clubs that consume, we have clubs that don't consume, we have clubs that consume and sell, and we obviously have plenty of clubs that have juniors as well. So we just have that conversation. Do you have a liquor licence? Do you have a community liquor permit? What do your RSAs look like? In Queensland, our regulations are different to other states. So RSAs can be obtained by 17-year-olds, but can a 17-year-old really implement something when they're, got an adult talking to them? We teach our kids to be respectful. So how does that help? So we talk about that. Do they have a courtesy bus? Are they actually using it? What does their away games look like when they have to travel? Because we know that there's substantial travel in central Queensland to get to events. So just those kind of questions. And as I said, there's all these great things that are happening. So they're positive role models. We're giving our community exercise and physical activity. We're giving them a structured routine, which is really important. Providing that connection, that social connection. What does that look like when alcohol is introduced? The big thing that we're looking at the moment is drink and drug driving. It's plenty on social media. It's reported. It's reported by the Observer and by the local police weekly. So we know that it's happening. So how do we protect our community? We have a round that's coming up, and I guess I would like support from the sporting organisations, but also for council to really get behind this round in Gladstone and put us on the map of all the good things that we're doing. all the information's online and I can follow up. What the clubs get is they get a portal, they go through and answer questions. There's roughly 43 questions, but that will depend on what stream they're in. So are they a not consume, not sell, no juniors? They'll have less questions because they have less risk already. And so they get an adaptive policy based on what they're doing, and then they get action items that they can work through, and that's where I help them do that. So our game ready rounds is really about shining a spotlight on members' safety and the dangers of driving under the influence. And you prepare for your game, you do all this training, and then the game happens, but are we preparing on how to get home safely afterwards for all of our members and community? Obviously, fatigue plays a factor, late nights, driving, and then if there's any alcohol or other drugs, that's definitely raises the risk. So that's probably me as fast as I can present what I do. But yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, and if there's any questions, happy to answer them. And I bought a pen for everyone.
Thanks,
I'll
Beck.
bring gifts.
Councillors, any questions? Yeah, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Rebecca. That was great, and thank you for coming. It's when I first spoke to you about this program, I thought that it was very important for all communities to be aware that this exists. I wasn't aware of it, and I can definitely see the reason and your theory of change that your program is built around. So my question is pretty much, I mean, how can council help you in, I guess, I don't know, whether it's promotion, whether it's, how is that what we can do to help your program?
Well, I definitely work with Jordan in getting information out to clubs. We're different here in Central Queensland as opposed to Southeast Queensland because they have the state sporting organisations down there. So in Central and North and the rural, remote areas, we're asking councils and the bigger sporting clubs just to support by showcasing what their community is doing. So Wallabies are on board for the Game Ready round. They haven't selected a date. I'll find out later this afternoon. So it would just be promoting that they're doing that and then actively maybe encouraging other groups. If Wallabies have picked a date, how can we make that date across the region or that week across the region for all of the sporting organisations to get on board?
Thanks, Beck. Councillor McClintock.
I think Councillor Holsheim had a question too. You good? Oh, okay.
That's all right.
Thank you. That was really great. I think it's quite informative. I did have a bit of a flick through the website the other day, and there are quite a lot of our local community groups and sporting groups on that list. Are there, I guess my first question was, how are you finding the uptake locally here? Are there any that you're, and not by name, but like by percentage, I guess, are you having a win on that side of things, or is it a bit harder culturally to get across the line? Yeah, how are you going locally? It looked like there was a lot. I couldn't actually figure out which ones weren't on there.
We've got quite a few in Gladstone. Yep. I mean, it's always good to get more. And I think some of, say, the croquet, where they generally don't have any alcohol or other drug consumption, letting them know that it's not all about things that they have to do. It's about celebrating the wins and the good things. So it'd be nice to see the clubs that are doing fantastic things be showcased more, I guess, would be my thing. And there is some rivalry. So if a club knows that the same sporting code is already in, then they're like, oh, well, they're doing it, you know, we need to be gold as well, so that they're more likely to come on. It's just me, though, canvassing the whole
Yeah.
of Central Queensland. So it is challenging for me to then individually work with the groups. I simply run out of time.
Yeah.
So it's not an uptake. It's just how good are they at technology and getting online to answer the questions, and also do they actually have access to a computer to be able to do that? Because some of the committees don't, or they're time poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not an uptake issue. It's the priorities of, do you want your games to run on the weekend, and I need to organise that. I don't have time to do this
Yeah.
program as yet. So sometimes that holds things
Yeah,
up
brilliant.
a bit.
No, I was
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised when I looked through the list, and it was just name after name, and I was like, oh, this is really great. So you're doing clearly some really great work here locally, and really appreciate it. I think part of the win, and from what I can understand, is this isn't an anti-alcohol campaign. And I think that's something that we're also trying to manage as an organisation, and it will come up a little bit later in the agenda as well, on how do we do this well to help people to have an enjoyable time where it's not just all about restrictions and what you can't do, but how do we do this in a healthy and responsible way. So I think it's a great program. My only other question was, this is obviously about the sporting side of things. The ADF is been around for a lot longer than that. Do they have programs or information for organisations separate to sporting clubs? Obviously, what you're doing in the sporting world is great, but what for us as an organisation or the industries in town, is there something that people can get a bit of a hold on how to do this well?
Yeah, absolutely. So the ADF is an advocacy organisation. So we have loads of information, loads of resources. There is a local council resource that's available. I think there's around 6 different areas in that, and I can definitely forward that on. As far as industry and things go, yeah, we have toolkits, so that everything that we refer to is evidence-based. And so the toolkits can be about policy implementation in a workspace. It can be lobbying, not council, but like local government, state government, federal government, for whether it be a new venue is coming up, so we can help people put, I guess, strategies in place to make sure that things are being managed appropriately. And yeah, we're definitely about no harm. We're not about stopping people from drinking. We're just responsible, and delay of uptake for young people, because brains don't form until they're 24, yet our legal age for alcohol consumption is 18. So yeah, just, I guess, educating community so people can make informed decisions. But yes, we have loads of resources, and we do have a local drug action team here in Gladstone, and we have our community consultation on Wednesday, and it's hosted at Mindcare.
Yes.
Are you coming?
We're away, actually. I just
Okay.
spoke to BJ, but that was the other, are you working with Mindcare? I know they have that coming up, so that's great.
Yes, so
Excellent.
I sit on all of the interagencies. Yeah. I sit on the with Queensland Health, the alcohol and other drug and mental health space. I sit and attend the local liquor accords, just to make sure that I'm informed of what's happening in the community, so I can provide whatever resource as it is. And we have a fantastic team, as I said, down in Melbourne. So if there's a question that comes up, or a situation that comes up that people want some advice on, I can gain that and bring it. There's certain things that the Alcohol and Drug Foundation don't have positions on. We're definitely on inclusion, to making sure that stigma is not, I guess, labelled on people that consume alcohol and other drugs, so that they're not able to reach out and access services, because quite often they have health concerns, and when they go to receive health, as soon as certain conditions come up, they're stigmatised, and why would we want to help someone who's not helping themselves? But Obviously, there are people that can't consume alcohol safely, and that's another thing that we want to make sure that that we're creating that inclusion where people who definitely cannot have alcohol are able to comfortably go to an event or a social gathering and not feel pressured to say, no, that's not for me, or bring their family. There's plenty of cultures that alcohol is not part of their culture, and we want to make sure that we're including those people in decision making and in opportunities so that they can feel like they're part of a community.
Brilliant. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. I think you're doing great work, so thank you.
Thanks, Simon.
Thank you, Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thanks, Rebecca. I've got, my daughter and my son recently engaged in sport, and so it's given me something to think about, actually, and thanks for the great work you do. It got me thinking about the, there's been lots of controversy in the national sporting codes around gambling funding, and I think inherently, all sporting codes want to celebrate the benefits of sport, but there's also a tension between that and being sustainable, that I'm sure that's the same at a local level, and I know that there's probably a lot of local clubs that sell alcohol and they make money out of that, and I was just curious, which is, all local clubs need to fund themselves, and so that I was just curious if you come across that tension at a local level, and how do you handle that or help clubs manage that, because there is a financial gain to the sale of alcohol, but as you said, you can do it in different ways. How do you manage that when you come across that at a local level?
There's ways to mitigate risk, obviously, and that's why we have liquor licensing. So if they're complying with their liquor licensing, they're already doing really great things. Obviously I do have that, but we're not trying to stop alcohol sales. It's responsible consumption. Does it need to be sold at junior events? And most state sporting organisations don't allow alcohol sales at junior events. So we're just making sure that they're aware of those obligations. We do ask things like, consider not having your alcohol sponsor on your uniform, especially if it's a junior uniform. So mindful of, obviously, if it's kids sport, what are we showcasing out in the community? If it's senior sport, then it's different. But we do ask clubs, our gold medal clubs, not to have alcohol in their change rooms. So after a game, if you want to go and celebrate it at the bar in a regulated area, not in a change room where alcohol consumption can spike quite rapidly, and there's a lot of that peer pressure and socialisation where it increases that sort of behaviour. So we're just asking for some behaviour change. Alcohol sales are extremely important for clubs because that's a big revenue, and it's the same as your barbecue and your food sales. We've asked in the past, we've done food, and we're just asking to provide a healthy option. So if you've got a bar, can you have lower priced non-alcoholic drinks so that you're encouraging people to spend their money on, on something that's not alcohol related. Let's not have happy hours. So we're not trying to increase that rapid consumption of alcohol. So it's not taking those sales away, it's just making sure that it's done really responsibly. And as far as you're talking about your kids, so I have my own. My son's 18 now, but when he was 16, he started playing in the seniors, and it's really important for them to play in seniors and have these great male role models around them. And then afterwards, they would, if they played the late game, they would have their little esky, and they would socially have a beer, have a drink, and they would bring my son a can of soft drink, which was great. And then he got dropped home one night, and I gave him a kiss, and he smelled like beer, and I said, dude, you smell like a brewery. What? So then it's a conversation to have with these role models. What are they teaching my son? Then he turns 17 and he's not legal to drink, but now he has a driver's license. So what have they taught him? Does he now have a beer after the game and think about how am I going to get home? And he's got no way to get home, so he gets in his car and drives. It's having those things, and as it starts to really touch you personally, then you think, okay, we need to have these conversations and raise the awareness so that we can make the changes and look after our kids, look after our mates. No one wants to see someone drink drive on the way home after they've had a fabulous game weekend and something goes wrong. So yeah, just having those difficult conversations so we can showcase the fabulous stuff and we don't end up in the media on the wrong side.
Yeah, really powerful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Councillor Patrick.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Khan Goodluck actually asked you the question that I would have loved to have asked as well, so I'll ask a different one. I know that you're just beginning your work, and our council is a Domestic and Family Violence Prevention Council, which obviously alcohol and drugs we know plays into that arena. Is there any trend specifically within our Gladstone region that you've seen is more dominant rather than in other areas?
Well, that's what the meeting that we're having at Mindcare, so they've put out a community survey, but they've also looked at the data that's already been collected. So that will be presented to us on Wednesday so that we can start to put in a plan of how we're going to action and what programs we could potentially input. So I will have an answer maybe closer on Wednesday. I did see that smoking in the data that was put out by the GRT, so that smoking in pregnant women in the central Queensland and Gladstone area was actually higher than the state in that country. So that's obviously concerning. What we get presented at the meeting will direct us where we need to input. I do have the Harvey Bay local drug action team is run by their neighbourhood centre, is their lead. And Tanya's actually away at the moment on a sabbatical doing some international understanding so that she can bring it back to CQ. She did a recent visit to Gladstone around that domestic violence case. So I have sent her an email. I'm waiting for her to get back to find out what the data surrounding that was for Gladstone so that we can use that. So what our local drug action teams do is they gather data but also talk to the community and the frontline workers to see what trends might be happening and where we then need to put in a program or education around that. So whether that's in industry or a youth program in the schools, we definitely will have more direction after Wednesday.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you're doing this work for our community, so thank you.
Councillor Wagner.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for the presentation. It was great. I was just wondering, with the changes to the liquor licensing, where there's exemptions and what have you for the one of shows and those fundraising events, how are you managing those when these events sort of come up and they're doing it for fundraising, so it might be a one-off? So are you focusing on them at all? Like, how do you get that message out to the wider community? Because those events, so they could be running it at a showground or something like that, I suppose, where there is a bar to make some money, and there's that risk that there's young people there.
I don't actually do that work, but I do sit with the liquor records, and so we get the information from the Office of Gaming and Liquor. So I can see what is happening and I can provide resources. I don't work specifically in that space. But yeah, as things come up, I definitely get whatever information out I can, because we have loads and loads of information. We also have one of the biggest libraries on alcohol and other drugs in the world. So we have a fantastic range of resources that can be looked at from that. If there's anything and that comes up and you think that I might be able to support or help, by all means.
I think the support, I mean, there's some things that come to mind definitely,
Yeah.
and I won't raise those here, but I just think of the other side of it, would there be a willingness for those groups to actually be involved in those discussions? Change sometimes is slow.
Changes definitely can be slow. Yeah, there definitely can be resistance for sure. And we're talking about, especially with alcohol, like it's such ingrained in our community. It's really acceptable, and it's more unacceptable to not drink, to not socialise in that way. So I am linked into other groups, Sober in the Country, do a lot of advocacy work. It's getting the message out, and then, yeah, having those conversations. I'm happy to have the difficult conversations. And obviously they're doing some great things in the community, right? So how do we showcase that and lift that up so that they don't feel attacked? Because if you get defensive, there's no change going to happen, right? So that education, and it's planting the seeds, and it's a slow process. But culture is definitely changing.
No, and I think that's great. I have the stats on which groups actually had community liquor licensing and what from last year, and there's actually not a lot, because a lot of them don't need it anymore, which means that, there is a risk where these things aren't being managed or mitigated, or risks assessments having to be put in place. There's always that risk that these one-off events could cause all sorts of issues. So it is concerning. So great. Thank you for the work you're doing.
Although they do have exemptions, there still is legislation that they have to comply to. So it's not just a free-for-all. Even if they have an exemption, they still have to have certain areas. They still have to have signage. And if they're not complying to that, then that's probably where we need to look at, reaching out.
Well, I had a look at it for an organisation. There was a organisation that was leasing their grounds for a end-of-year Year 12 function, and these issues came up because obviously it was like a lot of alcohol going to be happening at that for young people around the age of 18 at the time. So I had a look in it, and when I did speak to the Department of Justice about it, there actually isn't a requirement for a lot of these to have to do too much. So I think for me the issue is more about the other end of it. I think, you're chasing that, and that's great, but in our region, when there's only, 6 that have these permits, and there's not many when you know how much alcohol is being, I suppose, sold or at these events.
I would definitely be interested if we...
Have a chat later.
Yes,
Okay.
and see how I can, support, be an advocate and for change.
Excellent,
Definitely.
thank you. Appreciate your
Thank you.
work.
Thank you, Councillor Wagner. Any further questions, councillors? Councillor Churchill.
Yeah, just a quick comment and a question. Thanks, Mayor Matt. Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you for what you do. It's interesting because the parameters are changing, and as a long-time chair of the PCYC, we took a completely different approach, no alcohol whatsoever. But in taking that approach, it had a huge impact on the financial income, especially for those smaller community groups that try to survive on I suppose alcohol sales and all the associated raffles that go with it, beer sales, etc., etc. So somewhere in amongst it, I think the government needs to be able to offset some of that supplement to our smaller community groups. The other part is, and maybe you could touch on this, is that the Liquor Licensing Commission took a different approach, was in trying to ease some of the aspects with making sure that people could still enjoy a drink, which is what they want to do. They want to enjoy a nice drink when they go to enjoy the sports. But they took a different approach now with the BYO for our not-for-profit and charity organisations, allowing some leniency without having a permit. So I'd love to know your opinion on that. And my final one is that we've spoken a lot here this morning about alcohol, but drugs is a growing scourge, and it's still growing. And we have a huge problem, not only in our local society, but we have a huge problem in the movement of drugs. So hopefully you've got a remedy for that as well.
I don't know that I have a remedy. As far as the leniency for the BYO, that's a conversation that the program delivery team have often. So our high priorities are your rugby, your football, so your various football codes, and your cricket. But most of those actually have liquor licenses, and the liquor licenses they have to be compliant with. It's the little mountain bike club that has a little pavilion, and afterwards, after they've gone for a ride, they bring out their esky and they sit there, and there's no regulations on what they're doing. So that's where I step in, and the program delivery team believe that they're our actual high risk clubs because they're under the radar. No one's watching what they're doing and what their behaviour is, and it's great while it's all going, well, and they get home safely. But when they don't, and that's why I have the difficult conversations to make sure that they're choosing wisely. At the end of the day, they're adults, so that BYO. But if we look out for our mates, and we put things in place that we have the ability to get our friends home safely, and yes, we do talk about alcohol because it's legal and it's embedded in the community. Drugs are looked at very differently, and the drugs that can be legal as well, because a drug is anything that alters your state. So that's from your caffeine, that's your pharmaceuticals. So we definitely have information and resources that I can provide to our local organisations and our service providers to help guide that. I don't sit in that space, but I definitely understand your question, and I'll step in and provide whatever information I can, and hopefully as a community we can all work together, whether it's big industry or the little mountain bike club. We all start to look after each other.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Rebecca.
Thanks, Councillor Churchill. Any further questions, councillors? We have our officer's recommendation that the deputation be received. I believe that's right. Moved, Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Goodluck. All in favour? Motion is carried. Thanks, Beck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. The next item on the agenda, councillors, is our officer's report, G4.1. Consideration development application DA 79/2023 by Ely Waters Golf Course Master Plan preliminary approval for material change of use, including a variation request. And I'll hand over to the General Manager of Customer Experience, Rob Huth, and welcome Helen and Tegan to the table as well.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and good morning, councillors. Nick was going to join us online too, but he's not here yet. The development application consists of two components, essentially. A preliminary approval for a material change of use, including variation request to vary the effect of council's planning scheme for the By Ely Waters Golf Course Master Plan, and a preliminary approval to use as an outdoor sport and recreation, more specifically a golf course including mini golf, driving range, and includes an environmental facility, food and drink outlet, function facility, markets and tourist park. Officers have assessed the application against our planning scheme and consider it generally consistent with the strategic framework, and therefore is recommended for approval, subject to relevant conditions. The report's quite extensive, so we'll open it up to questions.
It is. It is. Thank you. Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you for the report. It was very extensive and a lot of reading. I just wanted to say I'm happy to move the motion because I think the recommendation has been well thought out and well, obviously, investigated. I just wanted to say that I think it's a great thing for the community. Obviously, there's still a lot of conditions. I did live at Beach, as I think I've said before, and the road into there is my biggest concern. But I have read through all the conditions, and I think they're going to be covered, and it's only the first step. So I'm happy to move. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to second. Councillor Goodluck. Thank you. I can keep moving now. Any other councillors' questions? Councillor Churchill, question? No?
No.
Happy to second.
All good, thanks, mate.
Thank you. Councillor Wagner.
Yeah, thank you. It is very comprehensive, and I can see where the community, I suppose, responses come in and answered. So thank you for doing that. The only concern I have still is that there's at least three. There's three greens that are along the corridor next to the railway line and not that far from the road. So obviously with the existing golf course, there's been some issues with golf balls going over fences. I'm just wondering how that's being mitigated. Like, is there enough buffer? Because some people are hitting 300 metres. So, and if it's wayward, that could be 300 metres at a 45-degree angle, which would hit the road.
Thank you. Helen?
Thanks for the question. Essentially, where the road is also a main roads road, so it's a state-controlled road, so they will have certain requirements with regard to that. Whether there's a standard distance for golf courses, I'm not sure. It is a championship course, so we're hoping that maybe there's not so many wayward balls, but I guess...
Probably more, they hit further.
So I guess that kind of detail
Anyone can
will
play
get
on this
worked out.
championship course, you know.
Yeah, that's it. I'm just thinking of, yes.
Yeah, those things will be worked out as the subsequent applications come in. There are different types of mitigation measures around that, and that'll be investigated, netting, those kinds of things. So that would be in conjunction with the Department of Main Roads in regards to the impact on the road network.
Okay, excellent. No, thank you.
It's a good question.
Well done.
Yeah, it's a good question. So does QR have... yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's the
Yes,
State Assessment Referral Agencies, so they deal with all of those elements, yeah.
A
Excellent.
few trains with a few golf balls.
Well, there's lots of trains go through there, the Marrow line, so...
And it is right literally next to it. So I think the plan looks great. But, I've seen golf balls hit people. And
Well, hence the reason that they need to move to the new location
Yes.
is because of
Yeah.
Sun Valley Road, Phillip Street and Dawson Highway.
Yeah.
So don't want to see that issue happen again, but they've got plenty of space there.
And I know my family wouldn't be the ones hitting them waywardly.
I certainly would be.
Thank you. I learn a lot about golf as well, reading this report. Might just have a go one day. I know I can't ask you something you don't know in general, but maybe just to talk to the applicants maybe later. But there's obviously a few conditions here, and do you see any of these coming back here or being prohibited in a significant way, so they can't progress?
Sure. Our Place Design Group were the applicants for this application, and we've worked very collaboratively with them in terms of what the code looks like. So to explain, the Bialee Waters Golf Course Master Plan will effectively become the operating code for future development on that site, and effectively we've had to work very closely with the applicant in terms of what we do want to see there and what we don't want to see there, and to make sure that the subsequent applications come in, we have a framework to be able to consider that appropriately. So there's no surprises in there for the applicants, and I also want to shout out to Candice, who came back from maternity leave to help us out with this report. She has seen it right through from where to go.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because I know it's been a bit of a long time. So I think this will be a great case of for us to maybe go and review the way in which we got to where we got.
Yep.
I know a lot of the times we do these exercises where we go back and evaluate some of the processes that we have and see if we can improve or I guess get any of those learnings from that.
Yep.
So thank you and good luck.
Thank you. Councillor McClintock.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Kind of just asked the question I was looking for anyway. In many regards, perfect. Thank you. Obviously, any development is always going to create discomfort. And anytime we're talking about development applications, we're managing community expectation with progress. I think this development is a really necessary and exciting opportunity for our community. I think we really need something like this, and I love the diversity of some of the things within the application. It's not just one thing and we just want to hit balls down a green line. And obviously that has created a lot of complexities to some of the other conditions and stuff like that along there. I guess my question was really just confirmation or I guess comfort that you are working with them, not against them in making sure, and I know not against isn't the right word, but ensuring that we really take them along this journey to see success, not to try and make it so hard and so many hurdles that they do it somewhere else or don't do it at all. So no, I think it's really exciting, and you pretty much answered it anyway, that you're working alongside of them well, but just want to encourage that to keep happening. This is something that I think is a really great asset, and obviously going to be a great contribution to our community for lots and lots of different reasons. So thank you.
And I guess that's what the framework we've set out to do is really sort of opening the door for those easier ones to get through as quick as possible. The constraints of the site and the actual process is what makes those things a little bit tricky, and the number of referral agencies that we've talked about in the report as well. So there has been a lot of hurdles, but this application type kind of deals with the big stuff first and then allows those other easier applications to fall out a bit faster as we progress through.
And I think, you know, one of our biggest challenges when it comes to DAs is getting the right things in the right spots. It's something I've heard you say a number of times, is not against having things happen, just making sure they're in the right spots. I can't think of a much more natural asset than a golf course. I know there's lots of environmental considerations in amongst that report with fertilisers and all that sort of stuff, but this is a really great environmental asset as well, and the way that the wetlands are going to be actually enhanced and utilised and accessible versus it being just a marsh swampland that you know can't be utilised or helped. And so I think, yeah, really great work. Thank you for the thorough report, and just, yeah, please keep working with them.
Councillor Davis, then Councillor Goodluck.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Sorry, I did have one further question, and I'm not sure if I read it in there, and I know there's a lot, excuse me, a lot of work to be done yet. Is there any expected date when construction may start after? Do we know that at this stage?
No, we're not leading
Not
to
at
the
this
gallery.
point.
No, okay, thank you.
And to be clear, any uses will need another DA.
Yeah,
So this doesn't actually approve very much.
No, I know,
without getting
yeah.
a further
I just thought
approval.
there might be something. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I was just trying to count how many pages this report is.
Don't do that.
It's up there with one of the
Well,
longest.
this is the most complex application
Type
we
you can
would
get.
because you're overriding a planning scheme and setting your own mini planning scheme. So yeah, as far as reports go, this will be.
Yeah.
I
South
think-
Kirkwood Road Structure Plan was the last time we saw something like this.
I think from memory, the biggest report I've seen was 20-something pages. This looks like it's topped it. And that was the Hummock Hill one many years ago.
Don't
But
Don't mention the war.
what, for me, sort of further to what Councillor McClintock said, the most exciting part of this project is the fact that we've really got a hidden gem there with the Baiili wetlands. And this is a project that can activate that space and let people in. And, you know, there's lots of in-depth work and more to come. And the reason I was pointing out the number of pages of the report is because if anyone's curious about what that might look like or got any concerns, you can jump onto the council website, you can read it for yourself. There must be 30 plus pages. It's a record report. You heard it here first. But it is exciting that, you know, this hidden gem is really, it's hidden, and this is a project that can potentially open that up and invite people in to experience that and appreciate it. And I think that's going to be a great outcome for our community. On the side note that you'll be able to hit balls off a line, so that's awesome as well. So congrats guys and good luck.
Thank you. And I agree with everything that's been said so far. The one thing that hasn't been said that needs to be said is this is a fantastic development. It does fit perfectly in line with, as you said, an environmental asset. My biggest concern is the future use of the existing site. And that's what I'm looking forward to our council working with Urella to deliver an outcome for that site. People bought in that part of the region expecting there to be a golf course there. A golf course can't survive, and anyone who knows the golf course knows it has holes on Sun Valley Road, and I've witnessed them, and I've not just driving past, but been on the golf course and maybe on the tee at the time where they bounced along Sun Valley Road. Same with Phillip Street in the back of the shopping centres, and same on the Dawson Highway. Even after they put the screening in, it can no longer be a golf course, which is disappointing. But this is where our council needs to work closely with Urella to make sure whatever happens there protects some of the green space but allows future development to happen at the same time. And I think the only way that can happen is if council's involved. And golfers can golf, mini golfers can mini golf at this new place because it includes a mini golf course. And that's fine. And there's also Miriam Vale, and there's also Calliope, and there's also Boyntanum, and there's other options for golfers as well. But this is a very strategic parcel of land in the middle of the city that we need to work very closely with Urella on the future of. I have a mover in Councillor Davis and a seconder in Councillor Goodluck, and I'm going to put the motion all in favour. Anyone against? No, the motion's carried unanimously. We'll move to one more item, councillors, and then we'll break for morning tea. Thank you, team. We couldn't let this one go before morning tea. 4.2, councillor vacancy, and I'll hand over to the acting CEO, Mark Holmes.
Morning, councillors. This item is for you to consider how you would like to progress with filling the vacancy that occurs with the resignation of Councillor Goodluck from office. So there is two options that are available to you. Given that it is within the first 12 months of the electoral period, you can choose to essentially appoint the runner-up from the 2024 local government election, and there's a process to follow with respect to following that through with ECQ, or you can hold a by-election. The costs of a by-election are in the order of $440,000.
Thank you, Mark. Questions to Mark, please. Oh, we've got a few lining up. Councillor Muscat. Good. Sorry, McClintock and Holzheimer. I'm just too busy thinking we've just lost an amazing councillor, but anyway, thank you.
Yeah. And I just would like to move that we pick option one is the one of...
Well, I'm not going to accept that as a mover because I'm going to move it.
Oh, sorry.
But
if I might second it, that would be wonderful.
Keep going.
But I also wanted to say that I'm very sad. If the option 3 was not to accept your resignation, I will go for option 3. Yeah, it is a great loss for us and for our community, Can. So I don't really I've already said lots of things, but yeah, good luck. We will miss you very much.
Councillor McClintock.
I was just confirming that we're voting on what to do next, not whether or not he can go. But no, just follow on the same line as the deputy. Just wanted to point out the great stuff that's been happened in the last 8-9 years or so, and appreciate even in the last 12 months or so being able to work alongside Councillor Goodluck has been really informative for us as new members at the table, and what a incredible asset that's been to our community, not just to this boardroom, and really appreciate what you've done and the way that you've done it and the way that you've conducted yourself has shown and led us to how we can become better councillors for our community as well. So thank you, appreciate you, mate.
Councillor Holzheimer, Churchill and then Wagner.
I just wanted to say thank you to Khan for Councillor Goodluck, and I know that he will still be sharing his opinions freely with us. Hopefully he's not one of those trolls on Facebook, thanks Councillor Goodluck, or it'll be blocky from me. I also want to acknowledge that by following option 1, having an experienced councillor like former councillor Chris Cameron is also a great asset to the room as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Holzheimer. Councillor Churchill.
Just briefly, Matt, best wishes, Khan. And thank you. I'm going to miss that robust debate and discussion to get the best outcome that we pursue in local government. But more importantly, may whatever you plan for the future come to fruition for you and your family, mate. Happy to support the officer's recommendation, whoever moves and seconded.
Thank you. Councillor Wagner.
I concur with everyone else. We've been here now a year. I think I did run for election quite a while ago when you were elected, and I've seen you evolve into just an amazing councillor. It is such a loss for this community to see you go. But I suppose our loss is others' gain, and I've said it to you before, whatever you do, you'll be successful, and it's just been, I suppose, I feel very privileged to have been working with you.
Yep. Councillor Patrick.
Khan, what can I say? Holy moly, no, you can't go. I fully support option one. Not only does it save our residents, our community, a whole lot of money, but we will have an experienced councillor, hopefully, if he accepts, coming on board. Khan, you are an inspiration. I have written you a letter, which I know you have received. I am deeply sad that you are going. You're going to make me cry, and I really don't want to. You're a great person and a great leader, and I appreciate all of the feedback, good and bad, that I receive from you, because it challenges me as a person to reflect, and to have that in the boardroom or to have that as a friend in community is such a gift. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I wasn't expecting this agenda item to come until after I'd left.
There's still the last meeting.
And nor was I expecting all the kind words, so thank you very much. I was going to move the motion, but I accept that you want to move the motion, Mr Mayor, so that's all good. But I just wanted to, I'm not going to talk much more. I'll have more to say at the next council meeting, which will be my last, but just to say that I'm very happy to support the appointment of Councillor Cameron. It was something I reflected long and hard over the decision to go, and there'll be much that I'll miss. But I will say that knowing that the ability for Councillor Cameron to come on board made that decision slightly easier, because I know he's a competent and capable person to come in and work collaboratively with all of you. But thank you very much for the kind words. Thank you.
Councillor Davis.
Yes, I thought I'd better say something. I'm not going to say too much because I will start to cry, and Khan knows how I feel, so yeah, I'm happy to support the motion.
Thank you. I'm not going to say anything either. We have a mover in myself that we appoint the runner-up councillor, or former councillor Chris Cameron, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favour? Motion's carried unanimously, and we'll break for morning tea.
I really like the variety because there's a lot of different parts of our region, and particularly in disaster space, I like that we're there for the community in kind of some of their worst times. We're able to assist. My role basically oversees and works with other emergency service agencies in town to assist the community in preparedness and then response and recovery following disaster events. I really enjoy working and living in Gladstone. We have great facilities here. People are really friendly. Council's a really good organisation to work for. Everyone's really committed to the community. I mean, we're all residents. We want to see what's best for the community happening. I do quite a few sports in town, so use a lot of our sporting facilities, as well as involved in the community theatre space, so getting to use the GECC, which we're really lucky to have. I do the community musicals, so we've done, I've been involved in Anything Goes, Legally Blonde, Carrie, and then also do foster caring through GPAWS, which is one of the animal rescue groups. Emma Catlin, Disaster Response Specialist for Gladstone Regional Council.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.
I really like the variety because there's a lot of different parts of our region, and particularly in disaster space, I like that we're there for the community in kind of some of their worst times. We're able to assist. My role basically oversees and works with other emergency service agencies in town to assist the community in preparedness and then response and recovery following disaster events. I really enjoy working and living in Gladstone. We have great facilities here. People are really friendly. Council's a really good organisation to work for. Everyone's really committed to the community. I mean, we're all residents. We want to see what's best for the community happening. I do quite a few sports in town, so use a lot of our sporting facilities, as well as involved in the community theatre space, so getting to use the GECC, which we're really lucky to have. I do the community musicals, so we've done, I've been involved in Anything Goes, Legally Blonde, Carrie, and then also do foster caring through GPAWS, which is one of the animal rescue groups. Emma Catlin, Disaster Response Specialist for Gladstone Regional Council.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.
I really like the variety because there's a lot of different parts of our region, and particularly in disaster space, I like that we're there for the community in kind of some of their worst times. We're able to assist. My role basically oversees and works with other emergency service agencies in town to assist the community in preparedness and then response and recovery following disaster events. I really enjoy working and living in Gladstone. We have great facilities here. People are really friendly. Council's a really good organisation to work for. Everyone's really committed to the community. I mean, we're all residents. We want to see what's best for the community happening. I do quite a few sports in town, so use a lot of our sporting facilities, as well as involved in the community theatre space. So getting to use the GECC, which we're really lucky to have. I do the community musicals, so we've done, I've been involved in Anything Goes, Legally Blonde, Carrie, and then also do foster caring through GPAWS, which is one of the animal rescue groups. Emma Catlin, Disaster Response Specialist for Gladstone Regional Council.
Is G4.3, which is Tender 72/25 Waste Collection Services. Councillors, on this item, obviously you can ask any questions you like. However, there is a contract we're talking about here, so if there's any contractual issues you'd like to discuss, we will have to move into confidential. So I will open the floor to our presenters. Chris, I think you're taking this, is that right? No? According to mine, it has Chris, but maybe it's Clara.
No, so it's me, Kiara, Manager of Contracts and Procurement. So good morning, Mayor and Councillors. I'm joined here today with Chris Irving, the Strategic Program Lead of Waste, who is also part of the evaluation team for the Waste Collection Services. This report is to seek resolution from Council to enter a contract with JJ Richards for tender 72-25 Waste Collection Services for a 7-year contract commencing the 1st of February 2026 to 31st of January 2023, with the options to extend three times by 12 months of each. The current contract with the arrangement with JJ Richards for waste recyclable roadside collection services is actually due on the 31st of January 2026. As such, a formal tender process was conducted between October 2024 to February 2025 for the provision of waste collection services to seek a suitable supply for the provision of waste collection within the Gladstone region to commence on February the 1st, 2026. Council supported by BDO, a technical advisor, identified a two-stage procurement approach of a select market sounding process and public invitation to tender process as part of the procurement strategy for this procurement activity to ensure quality submissions are received from experienced providers who can mobilise services efficiently and effectively. As part of the market sounding process, 6 suppliers were approached, in which 3 had actually responded. Out of the 3 who didn't respond, they formally declined to participate, citing the services of the limitations within the Gladstone region, and unfortunately 1 provider did not provide a response. Following the market sounding process, Council released a public invitation to tender. There were actually 2 conforming responses that included JJ Richards and Remondis Australia. As an outcome of the tender evaluation, the offer from JJ Richards was ranked the highest, following a technical evaluation, and was deemed to demonstrate capability and high probability of success delivering the services with an overall weighted score of 69%. The estimated expenditure is $41,705,674 excluding GST across 7 years, and will be included with the annual program budget for waste. Should Council provide resolution, the next steps is to progress to finalise the contract with JJ Richards accordingly. We open any questions to support this report.
Thank you, Kiara, and sorry for pronouncing your name wrong. When I saw it spelt in the agenda,
okay.
I thought maybe I've been saying it wrong all this time. But thank you. Questions, Councillor McClintock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple questions. First was just a point of clarity. This is collection services, obviously. There is another tender for our waste processing side of things out at the moment. I just know I've had a lot of interaction or a lot of responses from community as far as like local businesses around waste stuff, but I didn't see them anywhere in that tender process, which I'm assuming that's an entirely different thing. And I just wanted to clarify that this is 2 different things.
Yes, Councillor, they're 2 different things. The first that you talked about was initiated by an expression of interest process last year, and the waste operational team and contracts and procurement are just working through now, looking at what individual contracts come from that process. So it's a separate one to this. Yeah.
Brilliant. Just wanted to clarify that. And secondary would be, you may or may not be able to give me just a higher level understanding perhaps in, is there anything that we can do or that we are doing that is preventing some of these other bigger businesses from tendering? Like, what is it? Just purely environmental? You know, we're rural or regional, and it's harder to get the scalability, or is it something that we're contributing to or could help with perhaps long term to encourage a little bit more diversity in the applications for our collection services?
So if I just talk to this contract, that was one of the purposes of that initial market sounding exercise, was to try and understand, are there any limitations and what are providers expecting to see as part of contracts. So we went through that and got some feedback. I think some of the contractors that declined to provide a submission, some of that feedback was around when we look at these type of collection contracts, was their limited presence and some of what it takes to establish themselves to that level in the region as well. So that's obviously something that we can look at going forward. But that was some of that direct feedback we got as part of from some of those suppliers.
Yeah, just wanted to clarify, we didn't just get one-line responses that it's too hard or not something we're interested in. We got a little bit more of that. We pushed for that information.
We got a little bit of that as part of the market
Great.
sounding, and then following this, obviously, as we conclude the procurement process, we'll be seeking some more feedback based on the number of submissions that we got.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Sorry, I've probably heard that exact line 4 times before now from different people sitting in your seat. How does someone else establish themselves in the region if we sign another 10-year contract? Sorry, that's probably a really hard question. It's just I wasn't going to ask it until you just... I've heard that. I've been here before, and it's a 7 + 3 + 3, so it's 10 years. It's a long time, and every time that's... Yeah, I've signed a few of them over the years, and it's always the same company. And I'm saying not saying they're not doing a good job. I'm not saying that we shouldn't give it to them, but it has been and always is. Actually, I probably do have a question about one of the tenders. Well, yeah, so it's probably is a confidential question that I think I need to ask, because it's about the weighting on one of the other tenderers. I wanted to get an idea around that. So that's really a confidential item of business. Okay, so I'm going to move that we move into confidential, that the meeting be closed in accordance with section 254J3 (G) of the Local Government Regulations 2012 to discuss item G 4.3 tender 7225 waste collection services, as the discussion concerns negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government for which public discussion would likely prejudice the interest of the local government. I'll move that way. Thank you, Councillor Goodluck. Second. All in favour? Motion's carried. We'll clear the gallery, please, and end the live stream shortly.
I really like the variety because there's a lot of different parts of our region, and particularly in disaster space, I like that we're there for the community in kind of some of their worst times. We're able to assist. My role basically oversees and works with other emergency service agencies in town to assist the community in preparedness and then response and recovery following disaster events. I really enjoy working and living in Gladstone. We have great facilities here. People are really friendly. Council's a really good organisation to work for. Everyone's really committed to the community. I mean, we're all residents. We want to see what's best for the community happening. I do quite a few sports in town, so use a lot of our sporting facilities, as well as involved in the community theatre space. So getting to use the GECC, which we're really lucky to have. I do the community musicals, so we've done, I've been involved in Anything Goes, Legally Blonde, Carrie, and then also do foster caring through GPAWS, which is one of the animal rescue groups. Emma Catlin, Disaster Response Specialist for Gladstone Regional Council.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
I really like the variety because there's a lot of different parts of our region, and particularly in disaster space, I like that we're there for the community in kind of some of their worst times. We're able to assist. My role basically oversees and works with other emergency service agencies in town to assist the community in preparedness and then response and recovery following disaster events. I really enjoy working and living in Gladstone. We have great facilities here. People are really friendly. Council's a really good organisation to work for. Everyone's really committed to the community. I mean, we're all residents. We want to see what's best for the community happening. I do quite a few sports in town, so use a lot of our sporting facilities, as well as involved in the community theatre space. So getting to use the GECC, which we're really lucky to have. I do the community musicals, so we've done, I've been involved in Anything Goes, Legally Blonde, Carrie, and then also do foster caring through GPAWS, which is one of the animal rescue groups. Emma Catlin, Disaster Response Specialist for Gladstone Regional Council.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
I really like the variety because there's a lot of different parts of our region, and particularly in disaster space, I like that we're there for the community in kind of some of their worst times. We're able to assist. My role basically oversees and works with other emergency service agencies in town to assist the community in preparedness and then response and recovery following disaster events. I really enjoy working and living in Gladstone. We have great facilities here. People are really friendly. Council's a really good organisation to work for. Everyone's really committed to the community. I mean, we're all residents. We want to see what's best for the community happening. I do quite a few sports in town, so use a lot of our sporting facilities, as well as involved in the community theatre space, so getting to use the GECC, which we're really lucky to have. I do the community musicals, so we've done, I've been involved in Anything Goes, Legally Blonde, Carrie, and then also do foster caring through GPAWS, which is one of the animal rescue groups. Emma Catlin, Disaster Response Specialist for Gladstone Regional Council.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
I really like the variety because there's a lot of different parts of our region, and particularly in disaster space, I like that we're there for the community in kind of some of their worst times. We're able to assist. My role basically oversees and works with other emergency service agencies in town to assist the community in preparedness and then response and recovery following disaster events. I really enjoy working and living in Gladstone. We have great facilities here. People are really friendly. Council's a really good organisation to work for. Everyone's really committed to the community. I mean, we're all residents. We want to see what's best for the community happening. I do quite a few sports in town, so use a lot of our sporting facilities, as well as involved in the community theatre space. So getting to use the GECC, which we're really lucky to have. I do the community musicals, so we've done, I've been involved in Anything Goes, Legally Blonde, Carrie, and then also do foster caring through GPAWS, which is one of the animal rescue groups. Emma Catlin, Disaster Response Specialist for Gladstone Regional Council.
Well, thank you, councillors, thank you, officers, and welcome back those online and to our gallery. We're obviously still considering the tender for waste collection services, and it was appropriate councillors asked some very important questions. This is a multi-million-dollar contract, probably one of the largest contracts council enter into for this term at least, and it's very important that we make sure that we are asking the appropriate questions, and those questions that were confidential because they were relative to the contract itself. However, councillors, if you have other questions that are not of a confidential nature, please ask them now. Councillor Patrick.
Thank you. My question is, would you be able to give us an indication, based on the extensive tender process, the estimated expenditure is for nearly $42 million. Are you able to give us a percentage of what that would be for per unit?
Yep.
Sorry?
You're right. Sorry, Councillor Patrick. Yep.
Sorry. Sorry, per unit. That's correct? Yep.
Per household?
Yes.
Yeah. Can I talk percentages or dollars? Percentages, yeah. Yep. So with the new contract, it would be from just a collection perspective within this contract, it would be roughly
For the nearly $42 million. So we have our council budget now.
Yep.
This would be a $42 million contract. What does that look like as a percentage?
So so for the domestic curbside collection component of this contract, it represents just over 70%. So 70% of this contract is picking up red and yellow bins from the curbside for the duration of the contract, and roughly about 4 to 5% of them is picking up what we have as commercial customers. So approximately about 75% of that contract value is picking up the red and yellow bins from our domestic and commercial customers.
Okay, all right.
And with respect, I think the question you're asking, there is a movement in the weighted average cost of providing the service. So essentially there is a movement of approximately 15%.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that would be 15%, is that right?
So the red bin has gone up slightly higher than 15%, about 18%, and the yellow bin's moved about 13%. So it's about 15%.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. It's just a journey that our residents and our community need to be on with us. So thank you.
So that's in the cost of our cleansing charge, not the overall rates notice.
The cleansing charge.
Yeah.
That's the current cleansing charge, which also includes subsequent processing.
Yeah. So the current cleansing charge, so I'm going to test you here, the weekly collection fee.
Yep. So it's the weekly red bin collection fee.
Yeah. How much is that roughly per dollars? Like
new contract terms.
Old.
It would be about $85. $85 a week.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, $85
That's not right.
Annual.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
No, so it's not that much.
Sorry.
Been here a while, but it's never cost that much.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. That's annually. And roughly, would you think it goes up 15% on top of that?
For the new contract,
Yes,
it would go up approximately 15%.
Yeah. Thank you. Was there further questions, councillors? Oh, sorry, Councillor Churchill does.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mayor Matt. Just a couple of quick questions to the officers. I'm happy to support the officers' recommendation, but just wanted to know if Veolia and Cleanaway have any interest in our region.
They participated in some market sounding exercises, but they didn't provide a tender, so that's probably what I can answer for those two suppliers.
Thank you for that. My other question appropriately is that with the likelihood of food organics, green organics, FOGO being implemented sometime over the tenure of this contract, does this particular motion or your recommendation provide exclusivity only for the successful proponent, or I'm trying to substantiate if they actually have either a monopoly on the introduction of FOGO, or whether there's any anti-competitive aspect that might come into this with market control for our region, in the likelihood that sometime during the term of this tenure of the agreement that we go out, if and when we go out with FOGO.
So, Councillor, we've written the contract and tested the market such that with appropriate notice, we can introduce an organic service, whatever that may look like at the time. So it is anticipated, yes, that essentially whoever is awarded this tender will essentially have those first initial rights with essentially servicing our residents for that service.
Mm-hmm.
And we are essentially testing the market now, so this is the market testing. We've gone through that, and as we said, we've tested the market. We've done a market sounding exercise and approached essentially those 6 players that we thought were essentially the market players that may submit, and as we said, we've received submissions from 2. So in terms of if there was any anti-competitive type essentially challenges, I think we could easily show our workings with respect to that.
Probably a question for the future again, but thank you.
All right. Before I go to Councillor McClintock, so further on that, I think that's a very good question. So the contract allows us to move into FOGO or just go, or isn't it? Garden organics or food organics and garden organics. And there's potential options there for us as a council. I've been advised that if we go 7 years, then the 3 options are ours to determine whether we want to continue that. I guess following on from that question from Councillor Churchill, though, is if 5 years into the contract, we wanted to then go back to tender for the garden organics or food organics, that's not an option. That's what I've just heard. Is that right?
Well, that's what I heard too. Well, that's my interpretation of it.
Yeah. Not saying we would want to, but that's why, until Councillor Churchill asked the question, I didn't because obviously if someone was going to put a tender in, you'd think they'd do it now. But in 5 years' time, there might be a lot more councils that are doing food organics and garden organics that it might be more palatable for someone else to put another tender in at that time. Whereas if we sign up now for 7 years, plus 1 plus 1 plus 1,
Can I just add another aspect to that, if you don't mind me, Matt?
Yes, please.
And we don't know. I mean, it's a bit of crystal ball gazing, but if you mentioned 5 years or whatever it may be, but it might also be something that's done from a Central Queensland perspective or a CQLGA. I'm not sure. I just want to make sure that there's no anti-competitive legal aspects that we become restrained from with the Gladstone Regional Council for our residents and ratepayers.
So in respect to the conditions that are in this contract, it gives us the option to act to enable that provisional item, which is the organic service, which requires us to give 12 months notice. So within this contract, if a decision on organics was made through the duration of this contract allows us to access those services through this contract.
Yeah. I've got a few lining up, but I think that
we can't ask someone else.
Yeah. Does it?
You do have the ability. So essentially the contract has a provision of FOGO to have the terms and conditions in there, but as per our council report, should council wish to turn that on with JJ Richards, we'd have to come back to you for that resolution in the first instance, and the strategy may end up being that we go back out to market for that FOGO piece. However, obviously it's just that value for money piece. You may not end up getting the same rates, but however, we still have that locked in within the current agreement.
So you're confirming that we can definitely choose the option of re-tendering for a potential FOGO service?
You definitely.
Go,
But
yeah.
so again, at the moment, the contract has a provision of FOGO with those locked in potential rates. However, we cannot go ahead with that FOGO under JJ Richards without council resolution in the first instance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Councillor Wagner. Sorry, Councillor McClintock.
Mayor, I'm prepared to accept that. And as I said, I'm happy to support the resolution. And I just make an amendment there. I mentioned CQLGA. I meant to say the Central Queensland Region of Councils, or even our neighbours. So as long as we're not locked in, I'm happy to support it.
Councillor Wagner, then Councillor
Yeah,
McClintock.
just for clarity, sorry, and you've said it, but just in my head. So the contract allows us to use JJ Richards for FOGO in the future if we want. Is there any clauses within that contract that says that we decide to go with CQ Rock or alternative, where we do a collective for the whole region, or look for an alternative supplier? Are there going to be any impacts on our contract or cost to council? I mean, other than the normal cost of, paying someone else, but are we going to be in breach of anything, or is there going to be any ramifications to the contract if we do opt to go elsewhere for FOGO?
Do you want me to answer that? So regardless, at the end of the day, the $41 million does not include FOGO. So the current contract will be set up for $41 million over the 7-year period, with the ability to extend it 3x3. So if council does wish to turn on FOGO, we have to go through the relevant approval process to do so, and obviously, do that variation process to add the FOGO piece into there. And as Chris said, it's 12 months piece. So from a commercial perspective, there should be no concerns.
So I'm just interested, if we're doing a contract for the rest of it and we've just got a clause in there that says we may go with you, I'm just wondering why that was even in there.
Council asked for that, I think.
Yes, so we had to test the market for FOGO.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
So mindful of the contract duration for this contract, it's potential or that we could move to a third bin service for organics.
Yeah.
So we've included that as a provisional item to allow that under this contract.
Okay, so, right. FOGO, I think the deadline for FOGO was, 31st of December 2031, would that be right?
Within the contract, and providing some assumed dates, it was that a organic service could come online from July 2027 onwards. There's certain state targets that are driving some of these decisions, but within the contract, it was having that date that an organic service could come online from any point following July 2027.
And when would it have to be implemented by? There was a deadline.
So currently there's no mandated
deadline
requirement for an organic service. It's just part of council's working towards meeting the diversion targets.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Councillor McClintock.
Thank you. On this contract, just trying to choose my words wisely here. If we were to, so obviously moving forwards, we're trying to reduce the amount of waste. Obviously, that's an overall vision, dream, goal for our entire community, because it's obviously expensive to process waste, and it's only getting more so. Within this contract, is there the ability, if we were in as a future boardroom, to make the decision to go to fortnightly instead of weekly, irrelevant of the FOGO conversation? Is that cost locked in, or could we, if we drop that service, does that reduce that cost to our ratepayers if we were to go to a fortnightly instead of weekly?
So under the current scope of works and contract, we've put forward the tender to the market that it's a weekly red bin collection.
Yep.
So
I understand that.
The tender responses have based their response on a weekly red bin
Yeah.
collection.
Yep.
If we were to change up outside of the two organic options that we've presented,
Yep.
if we were to change the frequency based on just a red and yellow bin currently, our current level of service, it will most likely trigger a conversation with the contractor in terms of what rates would then apply to a fortnightly red bin collection. Because in effect, you're eliminating half of the collections
Yeah.
from the contract.
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just wanting to make sure we have options, as we go forwards into, how we make sure that things are effective and we're achieving our targets. And then my other question is, 10 years is a long time. 7 years is a long time. Did we speak to any of these tenders about the possibility of other contract lengths and how that would affect a 5+5? I think there's a little bit of, the world changes quickly in 12 months at the present, and we go back 5 years, we don't even have a grasp on the whole COVID situation. So a lot can happen in 7 years that would trigger things. So yeah, is there... I don't want us to shoot these guys in the, down because they're a great contract and it's a great service. But is a 5+5 problematic from where you see, or is 7+3 the defining factor in your opinion?
So the 7 years was based on input from an external technical advisor, so BDO Australia, and then also part of the initial market sounding exercise we did, we also asked that specific question of the contractors, and that's where the 7 years plus the 3 option derived from. There's challenges with the shorter contract timeline, which we're currently in now. The current contract.
What was the previous one?
So the current contract renews a 3.5-year contract.
Okay.
With 3 one-year options. So there's inherent challenges with a shorter, in the waste space, a shorter contract when you're looking at plant equipment and establishment. And then there's also challenges if we look at a longer contract as well. So that 7 was based on it was an informed piece of work, the 7 years. Yeah.
It gives me comfort.
Thanks. So I'll go back to what Councillor McClintock was saying, and adding to what Councillor Churchill was saying. It really doesn't allow. I know what you're saying. The contract does allow. It's a contract for the status quo, which allows us provisions to do other things. If we decided to go with a ROC approach and get FOGO or GO from somewhere, and another tenderer was successful, we couldn't go with them because we wouldn't be able to amend our existing contract, because you only introduce food organics and garden organics if you're going to then reduce your red bin. So by introducing a green bin, if it's not your existing person you're signing a contract with, then you're defeating the purpose. So you're voting on a contract, a contract for 7 to 10 years. And if you're comfortable with that, and I've come to the conclusion I am, it took me a while to get there, but I think they've been providing a service. And as much as we might like in 4 or 5 years' time, depending on who's around the table, to go call expressions of interest for someone else because the world will have changed, there'll be a penalty to existing contract, unless you keep picking up the red bin every week, which adds a lot of the cost to residents by having a green bin every fortnight and a red bin every week, and a yellow bin every fortnight. So that's expensive, but that's I think we've done the best by our ratepayers by going out to a tender that allows options for council, and including those options for us to consider down the track to go with someone else, keeping in mind there might be a penalty if we did that.
Happy to move, Mayor Matt.
Thank you, Councillor Churchill. Moved Councillor Churchill, seconded Councillor Holzheimer. More questions, councillors? Yes?
Just a quick comment on, because as you, Mayor Matt said, it is one of our biggest contracts, and it's also one of our key services that we provide to the community as a council. So this company also employs people from our community. So, and I guess I can't go without saying that the solution to waste is to reduce waste in the first place. So I look forward to seeing all of our work in relation to waste education and other ways in which we do things, because everything we do will cost us more money and will cost everyone more money. So, and it's our responsibility as individuals to manage our waste too. So thank you. Thank you for the work you've done and all the questions that you answer. Thank you.
Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I just, it's not only on the collection services where you might save ratepayers money either. I think the estimates were 40 or 50% food organics in the red bin. That's food organics that then takes up valuable space in the landfill cell. If you bring in that green bin and you're effectively saving 50% of the airspace in your landfill. I think the last landfill cost us $8 million or something, and the next one's forecast to cost us $16 million. So every square metre of space you can save there can save you money in the long term. And then there's also, so it might cost you more to put another bin service, or even if you just go garden organics with green waste, you know, there's a large amount of that goes into the red bins and ends up taking up that airspace in the landfill cell. And there's work to be done around what sort of percentage savings and what does that translate into money savings if you just add a green bin. So it'll come at a cost, but there might be savings, and a lot comes around education, as the Deputy Mayor said. So there's lots of work to do there, but it's not just all about collections. But great, happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wagner.
Yeah, just that point there. I mean, there's a real move to really push for the circular economy. So hopefully, by doing this alongside that, us as a council can be really working on, you know, recycle, reuse, and trying to help the community too, because obviously waste is and the cost of waste is increasing, and also our emissions. You know, we do have to do our bit to try to reduce those. Great job. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Churchill.
Oh no, just a comment. I hear what Councillor Goodluck said, and appropriately, and like to agree with him, because his words of wisdom is a sense of fresh air, which is lovely. Thank you, Councillor Goodluck.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Churchill.
That's going on my wall,
As
Councillor
is.
Churchill.
You can snap that from the live stream later and put it on. Before I put the motion, I just want to say thank you for answering our questions. It's not easy contract to enter into. It's a significant contract, and we've been elected to manage the funds, and this is a big ask, so and a long time. So I think thank you for the hard questions we put to you, not just here, but also in confidential around the tender process and all that. I do have a mover and a seconder for this recommendation, the officer's recommendation, which is there in front of you. I'll put the motion now. All in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you, and thank you, officers. Right. Let's move to our next item, which is G4.4, which is contestable energy large sites, and I'll hand back to Chiara.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. This report seeks resolution from Council to consider providing the Chief Executive Officer with the authorisation to enter into a contestable energy supply agreement for the term between the 1st of January 2026 to potentially the 31st of December 2029, dependent on the outcome of the evaluation, whether it's a 1, 2 or 3 year agreement entered into. Council is party to a joint agreement between 15 councils, 3 non-for-profit, coordinated through Peak Services for an energy supply agreement, which is due to expire on the 31st of December 2025. Savings are expected from this tender due to the decreases of retail market prices. Utilising local buy will increase the purchasing power.
Sorry, I did ask. I did put this to the CEO beforehand if I have a conflict of interest in this, and I do.
Okay.
I'm the president of Local Government Queensland, and we own local buy, so I'll declare a conflict of interest. I'll leave the room and I'll hand over to the Deputy Mayor.
Sorry.
Thank you. I actually thought about that when I was reading it, and I forgot. Yep, just continue. Thank you.
Sorry. Yep, no worries. Okay, so utilising local buy will increase the purchasing power for council to obtain more favourable pricing. During the term of these contracts, council benefits from the savings of about $10,000 approximately per month, compared to obviously retail tariffs. Peak Services will provide confirmation that the tender for the contract options of 1, 2 or 3 years will be issued to the retailers on the 6th of March 2025, with an evaluation due to councils by the 28th of March 2025. So again, it's a really short time period. Given the vulnerabilities within the electricity market, the market offers are only valid for 72 hours, hence the requirement for offerers to be executed by the Chief executive officer within that period. So essentially we've only got 3 days to turn it around. The estimated annual value is about $1.8 million, excluding GST, which is based on the current spend profile. Depending on the final evaluation, if it's a 2 or 3 year agreement, may be entered into. As such, council resolution is for the maximum estimated value of $5.4 million across a 3 year period. Welcome and open to the floor for any questions.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor McClintock first.
All good, thank you.
Okay, that was quick. Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I'm happy to move the motion. This is a great example of how local governments can come together and work collaboratively to increase their purchasing power and save ratepayers money. And I think we've tested it in the past, and it always comes out as the best value for money. So happy to move. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a mover in Councillor Goodluck, second by Councillor Patrick, and Councillor Wagner has a... Oh, okay, sorry. Any other questions? Second by Councillor Patrick. Yep. Councillor Churchill, you're good? Okay. All in favour? Motion's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, we'll move back to the next item on the agenda, which is G4.5, which is the Gladstone Airport Corporation Statement of Corporate Intent, financial year 2025. Hand over to Manager of Governance and Risk, Tanya Wally.
Good morning, councillors. This report presents Gladstone Airport Corporation's Statement of Corporate Intent, which represents a performance agreement between Gladstone Airport Corporation and Council as the owner and sole shareholder of the Airport Corporation. The Statement of Corporate Intent covers matters such as corporate objectives, capital structure and finance performance, non-financial performance measures, risk management and corporate governance. Legislation requires that Council must review and adopt the Statement of Corporate Intent each financial year. Today, Council can either adopt the Statement of Corporate Intent or request that the Airport Corporation consider amendments. Thank you.
Questions? Councillors? Councillor Wagner.
No, I think it's great and I'd like to move it.
Oh, okay, that was easy. Move Councillor Wagner, a seconded Councillor Holzheimer. Any questions to the officers, please? No? Tanya gets out of that very easily. Yes, you can. Go for it.
Sorry, maybe it's just my memory, but I don't remember us doing this before. Is that?
Yeah.
It should be adopting this essentially endorsed. So the airport comes back and reports on this quarterly. So this is essentially sets the overarching structure. Apologies, sir. So this sets the overarching reporting framework for the airport. So they're reporting on each of these indicators quarterly to you. But we should be adopting this every financial year to guide that.
You are right, Councillor Muscat. We have definitely done it in the past.
Yeah.
I do believe that it was overlooked last financial year. We also have an issue on timing where we're receiving it a little later than we should be. So we're trying to bring that back into.
Oh, that's great. I think it's a great thing to have. I just didn't remember us doing it recently, but I guess that's good to have it now. Thank you.
Excellent. I do have a mover and a seconder. No further questions? No. What's that? I'll put them. It's not a question. Okay. I'm going to put the motion. All in favour? And that's carried. Thank you. And thank you, Tanya. Oh, no stay. G4.6, review of statutory policies, advertising and entertainment and hospitality. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you. As part of the strategic review of Council's policies, officers have reviewed the entertainment and hospitality policy and the advertising spending policy. These policies are statutory policies. The two policies presented for adoption today have been developed in consultation with subject matter experts across the business, incorporate feedback provided by councillors and take into account feedback provided through the recent audits. The entertainment and hospitality policy guides council's entertainment and hospitality spending to ensure that it is reasonable, appropriate and benefits council and/or the community. A key addition to this policy is incorporating criteria to determine if spending under the policy is reasonable and cost-effective. The advertising spending policy sets clear direction on how advertising spending will be allocated to inform and educate the community on matters that are in the public interest. There are no significant changes to this policy from previous versions, but it has been updated. The policies meet the statutory requirements prescribed by the local government regulation, and they're open for your consideration today.
Okay, questions? Councillor Wagner.
Yeah, no, it's good, and it's a good move. Just wondering, I suppose for me, when we're looking at advertising, I don't know whether you can have it in a policy or not, but I'd really like to see that we're actually considering the audience and the market in where we're advertising, and also the distribution or circulation or whatever it is for that medium. I'm not seeing that in the policy. I'm just making sure that the documents that support this really do look at reach.
Yes, that is definitely something that we consider at an operational level in how we choose and select those advertising means.
Excellent, thank you.
Further questions, councillors? On the advertising as well, then I'll ask. And it's probably the policy doesn't. It's more government legislation. But once upon a time, we were required to advertise in the Gladstone Observer because it was then the words were a paper that generally circulates within the area. And of course it doesn't circulate and hasn't for a long time, it's online. Then we were using other forms of media. What's the law now around where we have to advertise those essential things, like an impact accessible development application?
Generally, because of the changes to the availability of local newspapers, the majority of legislation has now removed that. It refers to our website. Council's website is usually a prescribed advertising requirement, and other things seem fit by council. So
when we're auctioning property soon, where are we required to advertise that? Just on our website and...
On our website, though, we do use a range of advertisements across different newspapers, local, publications.
Okay. But there's no legislation that says you have to use one newspaper over another anymore. Okay, that's handy to know. Any other... Yep, move Deputy Mayor. Seconder, please. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Davis. I'm assuming the reluctance to second means there might be more questions. Oh, well, someone was waving a fan. I couldn't see. Okay. Any further questions? No? Thank you. I'm going to put the motion then. All in favour? And the motion's carried as well. Thank you, Tanya. You still have another one, I believe. Yep. G4.7, repeal of policy, conditionally registered motorbikes and quad bikes. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you. The report proposes the repeal of the conditionally registered motorbikes and quad bikes policy. Whilst the policy served a purpose at a point in time, both Council's operational procedures and the state's processes and guidance material have progressed. Council's role in the conditional registration process is to advise DTMR, who is a decision-making entity, on whether Council approves from a road manager's perspective the use of the road or location for particular types of conditionally registered vehicles. Council's operational process for considering the applications involves officers inspecting and risk assessing the roads or the location for the proposed use and advising TMR of any conditions that should apply. Alternatively, Council may object to an application. Objections are generally based on safety considerations. The repeal of the policy will allow each application to be considered on its merits, taking a risk-based approach with reference to DTMR guidelines and controls.
Okay. So how does that affect vehicles on Curtis Island?
Vicky, do you want to come up to the table? Sorry, Vicky has done the review on behalf of governance.
Again, Mr Mayor,
Vicky, microphone.
It's just a risk-based approach.
Yep.
So somebody can lodge an application with DTMR to have a conditionally registered vehicle on the island, and they would seek our views as to the appropriateness of that, and we would provide our feedback.
So we just don't need a policy for it. I thought the reason we had this in the first place because DTMR were making it difficult for people to register their quad bikes and that to drive on the island.
I think the safe movement guidelines have moved forward since that point in time.
It was probably early 2000s.
Yeah, so there's location zones that apply to particular applications for particular types of vehicles.
Okay. I just want us to keep an eye on this. If main roads become a roadblock as such to the people who live on Curtis Island, which is specifically where I'm thinking it's why we brought this policy in. I think you'll find it was a Gladstone City Council policy, but I see it's relevant to Calliope, Miriam Vale as well. So probably was an old one for a reason. But we'll see how we go. Councillor Wagner, then Davis.
Yeah, no, this is a good move, but it won't sort of exclude people on properties too that need to cross roads or what have you to manage their properties.
No, essentially it won't really change how we do things because we're already complying with DTMR's guidelines. This policy was just seen as a level of oversight by council that we just do not need.
Excellent. Well, good move. Thank you.
Councillor Davis.
Thank you. It's probably for Vicky. And back to the Mayor's comment about the vehicles on the islands, is there anything under this policy that excludes council from having to deal with, like, you know, abandoned vehicles and in those places? So is that something else?
No, we deal with abandoned vehicles under different legislation.
Yeah, even over at the islands. Okay, thanks.
That's our local law, Councillor Davis, and we will be reviewing them in due course with
Thank
council.
you.
Okay, can I get a mover for the officer's recommendation? Thank you, Councillor McClintock. Second, Councillor Goodluck. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you, Tanya, and thank you, Vicky.
Thank you.
All right, G 4.8 is cemetery fees and GSTD 2024/2 implications. Acting CEO Mark Holmes. Oh, and welcome everyone else to the table as well. Hello, this is yours. Elise.
Good afternoon, councillors.
Thanks, Elise.
This is a report to seek the amendment to fees and charges with regards to cemeteries fees with respect to the GST on burial rights in accordance with the Goods and Services Determination Tax.
I was going to ask a question, but Councillor Goodluck beat me to it. Over to you. Well, you put your hand up, and I don't know whether you're asking a question or moving, but I've got questions.
Hand, Mr. Mayor, but that's all right. I'll take that one. Thank you. Thanks, Elise. Can you just clarify for me what's on our fees and charges? We've got a reservation fee, and then you've got the rights to, say, a rights to burial fee. What's the difference between the reservation and purchasing the rights to the plot?
Going to hand to Sian, do you know?
So with the reservation ones, they were just like a placeholder for that. Currently the reservation fee isn't happening at the moment because we're not taking reservations, but we've left it in there because it's an existing fee, whereas the burial right is actually buying the plot itself, not just putting a hold on that plot.
So if someone was to purchase the plot, have we put a hold on that at the moment, or we've lifted that now?
No, so, what was that, sorry?
That's all right, but if someone was to purchase a plot,
correct,
do they then have to pay the reservation fee as well?
No.
What if they have paid a reservation fee previously when we were taking them? Would we
reduce it from the burial fee?
Yeah, would we
I'm not
pro
sure
rata
of
that to the burial? So it appears if you're paying a reservation fee and then you purchase the plot, are you paying two fees? Is what I'm asking.
We'd have to check with Rob on that one.
Can we get your chair, please?
Do you want mine, Houthi?
We've already given your chair away once.
The reservation fee is essentially the fee to administer and hold the plot for a future time. The purchase of the plot to be buried in is a fee that everyone pays, and that changes from year to year depending on council's fees and charges.
When do you pay for that? The second charge you said that.
The second charge, if you're reserving, you're paid up front.
Okay.
If you're not reserving, you're paid at the time of death, essentially.
So the the plot reservation fee is not, to me, that if I want to reserve a plot, then I would contact council to reserve a plot. Is that how that fee works, or that's?
That's right. At the moment, we only take reservations for Mount Larkham, Aurora and Rosedale. The other cemeteries, there's no reservations at the moment.
Yeah. And I understand that policy's in review. So is there any circumstance where someone might be charged both fees?
No, only on reservation. If you're reserving the plot, you'll pay the reservation fee as well as the plot fee.
So you are getting charged both fees. So why
Yes.
do we have both fees, and why don't we just have the one fee?
Because the reservation fee is reserving a plot for a future period in time. So it's the administration of reserving that plot. That's the charge.
It's not actually purchasing the plot. You're just putting a hold on it.
Yeah.
You might want it.
So let's say I want to purchase the plot then. Do I have to pay both fees?
No, you pay the one fee at the time that you want to purchase the plot and someone be buried on that plot.
So
within days, essentially.
So why would I pay $1,300? So can I purchase the plot on any cemetery, or is that different?
You can purchase the plot, yes, but again, on a death. So essentially, someone will be buried in that plot within a week, 2 weeks, or thereabouts. If you want to reserve a plot for a future time,
Okay, so
5 years, 10 years, you pay the additional $300 fee.
Okay, so I can't call council and purchase a plot in case my mum passes away in 5 years' time.
That's reserving, right?
That's a reservation.
It's a reservation.
All right, so let's say then that I've...
Wow.
I'm just trying to clarify this, because there's
I think we all are.
two fees. So let's say I reserve a plot at one of our areas that I can, and then in 12 months' time I need it because there's been a death for the person I reserved it for. Do I then pay do I get a pro rata for the reservation plot, or is it a totally separate charge?
If you've reserved the plot, you've paid for the plot up front and you've paid for the reservation. So upon a future death, there's no fee because you've already paid for it at the reservation stage.
So you've got to pay the plot fee at the same time as the reservation fee?
Yes.
So, okay, so why do we have two fees? Why don't we have one fee?
Because at the moment, the reservations that apply for those cemeteries that we take reservations for, you're reserving a plot up front for a future time that you may use it, and there's a $300 administration fee to reserve that plot. And at the same time, you'll pay the plot fee at the time, which is about $1,600 at the moment. Whereas if you pass away and someone approaches council to say that I need a burial plot, you'll pay the $1,600 fee or the fee at the time, and that's the end of it. There's no reservation fee.
Councillor, good luck on the work that we have done on the policy review so far. This fee structure is common to all councils in terms of having a reservation fee and then a plot fee. What it does is it does restrict the number of reservations and helps manage the asset and account for all the administrative effort that's involved in taking and maintaining those reservations.
Okay, and so I understand that. So the reservation fee is just for the administrative costs, which I suspect it doesn't even recover those costs in any case, potentially. I'm happy with that, but perhaps we should, if I was to ring and make a reservation, and then I've got to pay a reservation fee and a purchase the plot fee, I may be of the perception that I'm being charged two fees for the one service. Perhaps we could simplify that by just having a reservation fee which is inclusive of the other fees rather than two separate fees, which might be easier for people to understand. But I understand that that's...
And we'll be working through those fee structures as part of the policy review if it's determined that council wants to increase its the community's ability to reserve plots.
Yeah, and I know there's a review. I'll leave that for consideration.
Thank you. I've got a few councillors lining up. Councillor Holzheimer, McClintock and Wagner.
Great questions, Councillor. Good luck. And I kind of went on the journey with you and see where you were going with it. Are we approving this change of fee structure before we maybe should, if we are still reviewing the policy and looking at this further?
To clarify, the paper before you today is just amending the tax status from essentially GST applicable to GST exempt of our existing fee structure. Any fee structure that's going to apply in the future essentially as a result of that policy work, that'll come back at a future meeting. So essentially, it's just as a result of the most recent tax determination, we've just got to, because of our delegation, we can't make that at officer level. We've got to bring it back to the table. We're bringing this for you for your decision with respect to just that tax piece, and we've taken the GST, what that was applicable, we've taken that off the fee and included that in the attachment.
Okay, so I think that we're wanting to make and look at that in the future and change that, which is actually a completely separate conversation to the one we're having today, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McClintock.
Yeah, that was my question, basically. We're voting on the GST is what exactly we're talking about here, and how far that extends and whether it is about fees and the applications of those. And as such, I think there's quite a conversation we'd like to have around that. But I hear you saying that's a separate conversation to what we're voting on right now. So I'd like to move that this is done.
Okay. I'll get a seconder and then I'll go to Councillor Wagner for her comment. Second and Deputy Mayor. Councillor Wagner, question or comment?
Yeah, look, I was on the same journey as the other councillors, and I think it is something that we did have a couple of anomaly or, I suppose, legacy reservations at Gladstone, and I think it would be really good to get some clarification for the people who are wanting to reserve and purchase that in the interim as well, because there does appear to be some confusion.
Which will come back in the future paper.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions, councillors? No. Mover and Councillor McClintock, seconded Councillor Muscat. Yep. Put the motion. All in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. We'll move to the next item, which is G4.9 regional meeting in Bullion on the 18th of March. And I'll hand back to Tanya.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Council's scheduled to hold a community forum at Bullion Hall on Tuesday the 18th of March, which provides an opportunity to hold the general meeting scheduled for Tuesday the 18th of March at the same venue. The meeting is proposed to precede the community forum.
Thank you. Councillors, questions, please. Councillor Holzheimer.
Happy to support the motion.
Excellent. Seconded. Councillor Wagner,
Look, I'm all for this, and I think it's great that we're taking some out to the regional communities, and hopefully they've got the technology and capacity to be able to handle that. We did do one at Mount Larkham, and I think, yeah, great work. I'd like to second.
Okay, thank you. Seconded Councillor Wagner. Any further questions, councillors? No, I think it's fantastic as well. Put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. We'll see you all in the Valley on the 18th of March. G4.10, monthly financial report for the period ending the 31st of January 2025. Oh, we've got an acting account specialist, Sarge. Welcome to the table. Oh, look out.
Luckily, I came prepared. Afternoon, everyone. So, I'm about to present the financial results for the month of Jan. They're broadly in line with expectations, with revenue and expenses tracking as anticipated to full year budget and forecasts. However, as stated in the report, we did undertake a Q2 forecast, and any adjustments that are coming out of that will be reflected in the next month's report. I will run through some key financial highlights for the month of Jan. We're starting with revenue. So year-to-date, revenue stands at 104 mil, which is 53.47% of the annual budget. Discounts for early payments total 15.8 million, which is almost exactly as we budgeted. Overall rates and utility charges are tracking as expected. Next revenue item is water consumption revenue. January saw 9.9 million generated from biannual water meter readings. That's for the July to December period. This is consistent with last year's results, indicating stable consumption patterns. Interest revenue gets another special mention because council year-to-date has earned 6.1 million, achieving 85.45 of the annual forecast. While interest rates are expected to decline from Feb, I think a decision will probably be made sometime within the hour from our Reserve Bank friends. We've actually had a proactive treasury management and secured 20 million at 4.91 for 3 months. That was done last week with the NAB. Moving on to capital revenue, council has received 25.4 million year-to-date, equating to 50.74% of the annual budget. This reflects milestone-based recognition for grant funding, and the main projects covered there are REPA, Lowmead Road upgrade, and the Bonsai House utility services. The capital revenue remains in line with expectations, with additional grant funds expected to be recognized as the projects progress. I'm going to move on to the expenditure performance. Start with employee costs. Year-to-date employee costs total 44.6 million, which is about 58.25 of the annual forecast. It's slightly higher than planned, and one of the contributing factors to this is the lower than budgeted vacancy rate. So year-to-date we're trending around 7.1%, and we budgeted 7.5%. On the flip side, this does mean that perhaps we've improved our recruitment and retention across the organization, which is a positive. Moving along with to overtime. Year-to-date overtime expenditure is 1.2 million, which represents 74.84 of the annual forecast. The majority of overtime costs are concentrated in water, sewerage, and road services, so a little bit of that reactive space. For the RMPC contract, overtime has exceeded forecast, but is fully recoverable through the income, ensuring that we have no net financial impact. Consultant spending remains below budget, with 1.9 million spent to date, which is just 27.7% of the forecast, primarily due to project timing, with some expenses possibly expected to occur later in the financial year. Moving along to the capital expenditure year to date. As of January, capital expenditure stands at 48.2 mil, representing 45% of the annual budget. The full year forecast has now been revised to 111.7 mil, compared to 116.5 mil, which was forecasted last month. So it's good to see we're doing that forecasting process on a monthly basis. I'll now move on to the outstanding rates and debt recovery. Outstanding rates, proportion of outstanding rates is currently 4.76% of gross rates levied, compared to 4.95 last year. This represents a positive trend in collection efforts, showing an improvement in ratepayer compliance. For our payment plans and debt recovery efforts, currently there's 1,956 ratepayers that are on formal payment plans. This reflects ongoing engagement in our debt recovery efforts. So to close things off for the financial report, revenue is tracking as expected, with water consumption rates and interest earnings performing well. Consultant spend is lagging, but expected to pick up later in the year. We will have to monitor our overtime costs closely, and any adjustments to come will be reflected in the Q2 forecast. Capital spending is broadly on track, and debt collection efforts continue to be effective, with slight improvement in outstanding rates compared to last year. The Q2 financial review will provide a more detailed picture of any required adjustments, and as stated, we'll reflect that in the next month's report. That concludes the rundown of the financial update, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Excellent, thanks, Sarge. There's a few, I'd say. I've got Councillor Davis and Councillor Wagner.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarge. I just wanted to compliment you on that presentation, because it was very easy for me to understand. Nothing against you, Mark, sorry. But I thought that was brilliant, and yeah.
Must be the nerves going through it.
And I'm happy to move. Thank you.
I've got questions, right? Now
Oh, after all the questions.
Okay. Councillor
I
Wagner.
have to say, love you too, Mark. But no, it reminded me of the cattle market reports that we used to get, and they were really good. But it's very clear. It covered everything. It explained. It also explained like some of the highlights, like the overtime. I was thinking, and you said it was fully recoverable. And yes, Mark, you do a great job too. And then yes, I really liked the way that you presented it. So you didn't need to be so nervous. One thing though is the grant funding that we got for the CBD. Is that reflected in here or not? I couldn't see it.
No, I don't think so.
That'd
but
be
I'm
February.
happy to take that on notice and get back to you, but I don't
Yeah.
think it's reflected in the
No, so
actual.
so that wouldn't be recognised in your current figures and wouldn't be taken up as revenue until we actually start the project.
Yeah, okay. All right, no worries. Well, great job.
Councillor Holstoner.
Just a quick question. What page am I on? Because that probably helps you. 72. Wow, what a big agenda. So it talks about the commercial industrial rates and having 12.8% outstanding. Is that traditionally what we would expect to see, or is there anything impacting that in particular?
I haven't compared it to the historicals, but I'm happy to take that on notice and get back to you. You want to see historically how we've tracked against?
Yeah, is that what we would normally see? Because I know that when we did the rates review, we changed some of the landscape, and yeah, it'd just be interesting to see that change as well, and if there's any impact on and in that space. But great report, great explanation, and I think I really enjoyed the breakdown in regards to the overtime that was in this report too, to explain exactly what was planned versus where we're at the moment, and the obviously the great stuff we're doing in regards to our rates recovery as well, and how we're engaging with the community in that space. So I'm happy to.
I've already got a mover.
You got a mover? Second? Okay, sweet.
Thank you. Were you answering a question there, Mike? You looked like no. Okay, question. Page 71. So that's capital expenditure, 111.7 million forecast, 107 budgeted, and it's about 46 actually spent. Is that right? There it is on the screen.
Yes.
And I know that usually ramps up towards the end of the financial year. And it's probably not really a question for you, but I'd like, as we approach our budget process, Mark, excellent. Yeah, jump on board, Mark.
Yeah.
It might end up being a question for you, but as we approach our budget process, I would like us to look at that long-term forecast and make sure that we're actually forecasting what's achievable. Maybe, Mark, can you tell me if we're likely to reach that budget amount?
Probably not. Obviously, we've got the supply chain challenges. We've had a couple of lower months, but what we are rapidly increasing our maturity is in our forecasting and understanding better. So you'll see a significant change, as Saja's mentioned, from last month's forecast as we get better information from our project managers. In terms of the long-term financial forecast, it is quite significant, and you'll see that through your budget process. There's a piece of work ongoing just now to try and put some downward pressure on that and focus on renewals and work in progress. So while we probably won't meet that forecast figure, we will be close to it. 45% at this time of the year is still quite good in terms of the dollar spent. It was always an ambitious program with a large amount of QRA funding attached, but we're working very diligently to do as much as we can.
Okay, thanks. Another question, just I've got to find the pages they're on. There's a few pages where we have projects with zero. Here we go. Glen Line, Tank Street Traffic Calming Scheme. Revenue 0, expense 0. Turtle Way Pedestrian Bridge 0, 0. And there's others up further. Round Hill Road, Round Hill Reservoir 2, 0, 0. Why are they in there?
So that we can't recognise the revenue until we actually do the work or start the work with those. So with their capital revenue, they're projects that we would have expected to be done this financial year. So with Glen Line, there's still some ongoing conversations happening with the funder with respect to that funding, and that work hasn't proceeded to date. Certainly with the Turtle Way pedestrian bridges, I know that work is starting to commence, so the revenue will start to come through in the next month or two as we complete that work.
Okay, so there is revenue attached to these projects. We just we don't know what they're there until
we actually do the work. We can't recognise it because we haven't, essentially, from an accounting standards perspective, you haven't earned the revenue because you haven't done the work, or the reason because you were given the money for a reason and you haven't done that yet.
So the Bonsai House revenue is 1.4 1.5 mil, and I take it that's coming from a grant,
Yes.
Yep.
and the expense is 1.6, so we've exhausted the grant and now we're using general funds.
Yep.
Okay. Do we know how much more general funds are used for that Bonzo house to go?
That's completed.
It's finished, so it's done, okay. And I've been wondering when. Okay, excellent. Lovely, all right, there was another question I had. Other government funding, again, okay, so at point 3, I was expecting there to be a figure in there of about 5-point-something million, but that's going to be in the next round of funds.
Which one is that for? Mayor,
That's, I think it's, yeah, don't worry, that's on Glenline, Gundoon Street, so we'll wait until that appears. All right, any other questions, councillors? I do have a mover. It was Councillor Davis and Councillor who? Holzheimer, yes, thank you. Put the motion, all in favour, and that is carried. Thank you, Sarge, well done. Thank you, Mark. Okay, G 4.11, Access and Inclusion Action Plan Report, July 2024 to December 2024. Welcome, General Manager of Community and Lifestyle, Kylie Lee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, councillors. I've got our Community Development Specialist here, Jacqueline Iwasaka, who has been absolutely instrumental in delivering the Access and Inclusion Plan. I'm just getting my notes up, just 2 seconds, sorry. Jacqueline and I are very excited to be able to deliver this report to you today. It's our first 6-month report for our newly implemented Access and Inclusion Plan. In June 2024, we endorsed we as in you kindly endorsed the 3-year Access and Inclusion Action Plan to improve access and inclusion across our services and facilities for our community. Jacqueline has done an amazing job in ensuring this plan is activated and progressed, and that council remains focused on its commitments to the community. In the first 6 months, we've seen the establishment of an internal working group, a rollout of training for employees, and other highlights, including the official launch in July with our Disability Community Network, the celebration of Disability Action Week in November, a comprehensive review of council's recruitment processes, improvements to community events, including the incorporation of sensory spaces and improved communication about accessibility, and significant progress on our operational plan item, which is investing $200,000 into making community facilities more accessible and inclusive. Jacqueline's also leading a Champions program across our organisation with a really great uptake so far. It's the Champions' role to keep the conversations front of mind when we're making decisions and to ensure we're always factoring in community accessibility and inclusivity. I'm excited by the momentum that we've created in the first 6 months and look forward to providing our next progress report to you after 12 months of implementation. Welcome any questions you have with respect to the plan.
Thank you. Councillor Wagner.
Yeah, thank you very much for the report. It's great. I really love the idea that, and it's something that my colleague Councillor Churchill has been advocating for, would be the accessible stage at the entertainment centre, and I think that in itself is going to be a great project. One thing that I would like as we head down probably as a future strat plan or corporate plan and operational plan is embedding a requirement to consider disability in each project that we ever, I'm not talking about just events, but right across the organisation. I'd love to see a KPI or a goal or something set so people have to think about disability in everything that we do, and people with disabilities obviously in the realm of contractors and what have you. So just flagging that. But yeah, good report. Thank you very much for all the work you're doing.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, councillors, Deputy Mayor, and then Councillor Churchill?
Thank you. I just wanted to say that it was great to actually see these reports coming so soon after the adoption of the plan, which is, we do it, but I think we could do it as well as you do it with a number of other plans. So thank you for that. And I wanted to, I don't know if former Councillor Rick Hansen is watching, but I'm going to make sure I send this report to him. Thank you.
We'll be very impressed. Okay. Councillor Churchill.
Oh, yeah, no, just thank you for that, Mehmet. Thank you, Kylie. Thank you, Jacqueline. Do appreciate what you're doing. Just, I suppose, as a further adjunct to Councillor Wagner, where Councillor Wagner's coming from, is there an interconnection now between our disability action plan and our planning scheme, or more so our planning and development and building approvals? Because what Councillor Wagner appropriately raises is that if we're prepared to consider the importance of the inclusive part in relation to what we're doing, then how far do we go with respect to other agencies and those that are creating new developments? And I know Councillor Muscat's just raised Councillor Hanson. That's something that and I'll take up, I suppose, the baton a little bit for Councillor Hanson, because he was always of that opinion, and we should carry that same opinion within our action plan, is making sure that we are consistent for our region. We have a disability action plan, then appropriately we should be encouraging, within the confines of law and within the confines of what is required with new buildings and going forward. And I want to raise another addendum part to it, is just making sure that there is an understanding that from a regional perspective, that we're encouraging or legally requiring or a compliance requirement to make sure that there is disability access built into new buildings and or new developments or whatever the programs might be. So I'd love to have your opinion on it, and then I'll raise the other part at the end of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Churchill. It's a really good question. Myself and my colleagues are working through an asset hierarchy which determines the level of compliance or compliance with the Disability Discrimination Act, but also those where we might enhance the treatments with respect to access and inclusion. So at standard, we seek compliance, obviously, with the DDA, but there are certain facilities that we should potentially go above and beyond, such as Phillip Street, where they've got high community traffic and things like that. So there is a hierarchy being developed to ensure that disability and inclusion is a consideration in all of our new buildings.
Okay, thank you. I'm pleased to hear that. And then I suppose my last final addendum part is making sure that any state government buildings and or other two tiers of government, I shouldn't just pick on the state, but whether it's state, federal government, any government buildings appropriately should still not be allowed to, or they, I'll try and choose my words here correctly, is making sure that they also fulfil their requirements in relation to inclusion, disability access, and also disability car parking off-street, because if they don't, then there's an expectation that council will provide that on our main street corridors.
Thanks for your question. So I think there's a couple of things. So there is a minimum standard that all companies and governments and anyone who is building infrastructure has to comply with those minimum legislative requirements. Within our council, we have decided to create our hierarchy and that we would like to go beyond those minimum standards for a select community facilities. We also have within the plan an advocacy piece, and that is working closely with businesses and then also with potentially other levels of government too, to advocate for those areas that we would like to see increased, go beyond the minimal standards. So that would kind of fall into that advocacy work that's in the plan as well.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Jacqueline, because there is a couple of great examples of people, of facilities that we've got right here in our city that should have had on-site disability parking, and then the pressure gets placed on us as a council and our ratepayers. But anyway, thank you. That's pleasing to hear. Best wishes. Happy to support the recommendation, Mayor.
Thank you. Happy to move. I have another question from Councillor McClintock. Would I get a seconder now, please? Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Councillor McClintock, your question?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Just noticing, not just noticing, but just in reference to the needs attention points within the report. First question would be just a little bit of clarification or perhaps some help in understanding why is it so hard for us to provide accessibility information into our promotional material? Why is that proving difficult?
That's not difficult, Councillor McClintock. It is planned work. So
Yep.
yeah, we're progressing through our annual work plan, so it's not difficult.
Okay, I was just curious what hold-ups there's been. Is it purely just like functionality of getting it done?
Yeah, it's just getting the work done.
All right, because that seems to be an easy win that we can incorporate, obviously, going forwards.
100%.
And are we already including that in new marketing being done? Are we already having that conversation with our teams that they include that?
Yeah,
Not
so we've
just a
had-
review of it, obviously.
No. So our teams have had the training to be able to communicate that way. Some of our team, we're rolling that out through other team members.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just progressing with our work plan before we finish off that particular item.
Perfect. No, that's okay. It just seems like an easy win that we're struggling to get done. And I was wondering what that hold-up was, if that makes sense a little bit. What oversight do we have or procedures do we have in place? Obviously, it's all well and good to say we're going to be inclusive or that we're going to be accessible or force developers and our own developments into including accessibility as a part of the process. But you point out even our Phillip Street precinct as our above and beyond precinct, yet in the implementation, there are perhaps some oversights that happened, and there's a lot of stairs for a very accessible venue. What do we have as far as, apart from saying you need to do this, what's the next step that we have to ensure that this is actually being done even within our own organisation, rather than just having it as a checkbox on a report somewhere or an application? Do we have follow-up with that, or what does that look like? I know I'm asking a pretty generic question, but I just want to make sure that we're not doing check boxes here, but we're actually seeing tangible effects on the ground that are beneficial, not just tokenistic. And we put a handrail in over here, even though it's not functional, so that we could check that box that it's accessible.
There's a number of things that I'll answer for that question. So obviously the plan, the access and inclusion plan, is not, I think hopefully we're demonstrating that it's not just a plan that sits on the shelf.
Yeah.
That we advocate for that quite strongly. We've also got the Champions program that Jacqueline's now putting in that has a range of different disciplines across the organisation that tries to keep access and inclusion front of mind. When we construct, we have an obligation to construct at a minimum at the DDA, in compliance with the DDA Act. What we have done with the likes of Phillip Street, for example, is engage our community and actually help them. They've helped us do an audit of that particular facility, and then we've retrospectively made some amendments in there that have increased access and inclusion. As far as a specific policy, we probably don't have that level of governance. So maybe that's something that we look at towards the future. The asset hierarchy is also a place where we can determine the level of access and inclusion that we apply.
I see there's movement in the corridors.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, thanks for the question. We've been talking with our design team to ensure that the hierarchies that we're establishing at the moment are with those design teams, and those triggers will be set when they start to look to renovate, refurbish or build new infrastructure at those facilities. So that is in place right now.
Good. Just want to really, keep that in our front of our mind, and I know you have answered similar questions in the past and continue to do so, but we really need to make sure this is not just being discussed and well informed to our projects, but is actually being well implemented into our projects. So just, trying to keep that at the front of our minds is something that's really important, I think, to me and probably others in the boardroom. I know I've had that conversation. The only other question I had on this was in regards to the stage in GCC. I know part of the entire plan, when we go back a little bit further, was one of the key parts to it was identifying within our own assets where those opportunities were. I guess for my own comfort, was that stage identified in that process? And have we had the chance, it was a little bit covered in here, but to speak with each of our departments as to how and what that looks like in other things that we've missed, I guess?
So I guess we did in 2013 and then again in 2013, 23, apologies, we have done accessibility audits of our community facilities. And that's when a consultant has come in and looked at those facilities and has identified things that are not up to that minimum standard at that point in time. We also, throughout the development of the plan, did some significant community engagement to gather that feedback from the community as well. And I would like to say too that community engagement hasn't stopped yet either. So community, we are still continuing those conversations internally and also externally. And if something comes up at any stage in the delivery of the plan, we'll definitely bring that information and look to incorporate that somehow.
Cool. Great. Thank you very much.
I can answer some more of the GCC stage.
Yes.
So we do hire a ramp for some of our events at GCC to ensure that we do have an access ramp up to the stage. We hosted the Stage Queensland conference here 2 weeks ago, which was incredible, and our technical lead has looked at some other options that are cutting edge, which should allow us to implement that earlier than we expected. So.
We want a Taylor Swift level pop out of the stage for people?
No, not that level, but something just as magical.
Okay, great.
Councillor Holsheimer.
Sorry, my brain just went, it's been a big day. I know that Jacqueline, you have had conversations about this, and Carly and I are about to start having some conversations about this as well. It seems that access and inclusion is now being stepped out to all abilities in regards to lots of the work that's happening. So there seems to be a move, as happens with language and that sort of thing as well, in regards to creating a space for all abilities. And I just wonder for the new direction part as well, for the community partnerships, for the sporting, that sort of space, if the all ability space is somewhere that we need to be looking at as well, rather than access and inclusion, to actually shift some of that language, because that seems to be the new sporting term that we have in place in sporting community for all abilities as well. And if we do contract or provide grants to support, sporting or any space, how do we actually put a weighting system or that sort of thing in our review of our process to actually promote that, to start the conversation, because it's just starting the conversation for some places who aren't even having the conversation because it's not on their radar yet. So not really a question, just a, But I know you're really active in that space because you often send me emails, and people will contact me who have already contacted you, and they come at like both layers as well for that as well, which I think is really great and good on them.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? No? Mover in Councillor Churchill, seconded Councillor Patrick. Put the motion all in favour, and that is carried. Thank you, team. Thank you, Jacqueline. Okay, councillor reports. I don't have any written councillor reports, but I believe Councillor Patrick did want to raise something. Over to you.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just a couple of reports from myself. councillors are busy out and about, and I think it's really nice to share some of the things that we are involved with community. So the first one that I would just like to highlight is our involvement as councillors with the recent Gladstone Regional Art Gallery and Museum, the launch of 3 exhibitions in our beautiful art gallery and museum. The first exhibition is Works on Paper. The second is New Exuberance, Contemporary Australian Textile Designs, and Ocean Lines is by our own Charlotte Orgel. So I'm just inviting all residents and visitors to our region that those are on exhibition at our wonderful gallery. And the second one is with, I went with Councillor Melissa Holzheimer. This was on Friday night, the 15th. We travelled to our neighbours in the Banana Shire as they were holding a Wow Australian in Her Name exhibition in their art gallery. I'd never actually visited the Banana Shire Art Gallery or their chambers, so it was a great opportunity for us both to go over there and support that project. I think having great relationships with our neighbouring councils is always of benefit, so it does no harm. So it was great to travel over there. The exhibition highlighted 50 extraordinary women and girls from various Queensland communities, each recognised for their leadership and outstanding personal contributions. A special feature highlighted 10 incredible local women from the Billowheeler region, accompanying portraits and their stories which captured their achievements and their impact within the Banana Shire. A side program is Wow What Next, which encouraged future conversations on supporting women and fostering future leadership opportunities, not just within the Banana Shire but throughout Queensland as well. Hopefully we as a Gladstone Regional Council could consider the possibilities of supporting WOW festivals in Gladstone. So from me, that is it, and I'll hand it over to any other councillors if they have got some activities that they'd like to report on.
Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Tanya, do I need to put a motion that the report be received or no? Okay, thank you. Councillors, any further councillor reports? No further council reports. We've got no urgent businesses, no notices of motion, no additional confidential items. I'll declare the meeting closed at 12:30. Thank you for your attendance.